Hey, how's it going? It's John Suntress, and welcome to Word Balloon. You found us. That's excellent. If this is your first time, please consider subscribing to us via iTunes or Stitcher or certainly Last.fm and all the various places you can find podcasts. Word Balloon is invariably there. Subscribe. Please let me know what you think of the show. Write ratings over at Apple's podcast platform and give me a review. You can say nice things, you can say lousy things. You suck, John, and let me tell you why. Happy to hear your feedback either way. But do me a favor and like me where you can and leave comments. And also, as always, email me, john@wordballoon.com. I'm interested in your feedback. I'm interested in what you're thinking about the content I put here. Also, I have a YouTube channel under Word Balloon. Would you please consider subscribing there? I've got about 400 plus subscribers currently. I'd like to get to at least 1,000 and start generating more video content. So go to YouTube and click on the Word Balloon channel and please subscribe.
Terrificon, Connecticut's biggest Comic-Con, returns to Mohegan Sun, August 9th to the 11th. Meet Billy D. Williams, Val Kilmer, Doctor Who's John Barrowman, and the voices from Animaniacs and Thundercats. New England's largest guest list of comic book artists from DC and Marvel Comics is at Terrificon on August 9th to the 11th at Mohegan Sun. Tickets on sale now at Terrificon.com.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Word Balloon. This is the Comic Book Conversation Show. John Suntress here. Throwback Thursday. How about a Word Balloon Throwback Thursday? You know, next week is San Diego Comic-Con. I won't be going there, but several of the people you're about to hear on this repeat podcast of the Oh Yeah podcast with myself and Art Baltazar and Franco and our special guest Mark Waid, they're all going to be out there, and they're my guys. I miss my guys. I'm kind of bummed I won't be able to go. But, you know, I want to give you a flavor of what it's like when we all get together and just hang out and have time just to BS. If we have dinner or it's after hours at the Hilton or the Hyatt or wherever everyone is congregated for the evening. And we have this kind of conversation. I think you're going to like it. It's from September of 2011, and it features conversation about the New 52. DC had just released their batches of number ones, all the 52 number ones, and we talk about some of the titles we read and some of the old big event continuity things that were going on during the New 52. And then we go into a discussion about Doctor Who. Artie was not familiar with Doctor Who, so Frank and I kind of like give him the ABCs of Doctor Who. And then that, of course, breaks off into a Star Wars conversation and a Planet of the Apes conversation. And all that happens for about a half hour, and then Mark Waid joins us about a half hour in, and for the rest of the broadcast. So I think you're going to like it. It's, you know, I just want to remind people about the Oh Yeah podcast. It is on a separate feed. If you look for Oh Yeah podcast, you'll find it. And, you know, it's hosted by Spreaker. Same deal as what I do here at Word Balloon. But a looser conversation, and always with Art and Franco. And occasionally we do have guest creators come on. And this is one of those examples from many years ago. A really fun conversation with Mark Waid on Throwback Thursday on Word Balloon. It's all brought to you by Aftershock Comics, the industry's fastest growing independent publishing company, promoting new and established comics as the year of reading dangerously. Great titles like Animosity and A Walk Through Hell, Dark Arc, and Baby Teeth, and other great books like Dark Red, my buddy Tim Seeley, who is kicking ass, and there's Chris Sabella's Trustfall. Matthew Klickstein's You Are Obsolete is coming up, and we got Joe Pruitt's horror anthology Shock this month, all from Aftershock Comics. Now, I've been having a lot of great conversations with Aftershock creators. That will continue in the weeks ahead, but until then, go to their website, find full story descriptions, preview pages, and the diamond codes on how to order these books through your local shop at AftershockComics.com. All right, without further ado, let's get into our conversation with Mark Waid on a Word Balloon Throwback Thursday. We are now recording, sir.
Oh, yeah. Whatever.
Hello.
This is 31, right?
31.
Yeah, this will be 31.
We just skipped. We just did the apes commentary.
That's right, but those talks don't have numbers, Artie.
No.
Right. Oh, that's right. You know that in the new DC number ones?
Yes.
And all the 52 number ones, they have that strange lady appearing. The cloak thing.
Yeah, we should have that lady appear on our podcast.
Wendy Williams?
It might be Wendy, but I think I think I'm gonna put her secretly somewhere in the next Tiny Titans issue.
That's awesome.
I think she shouldn't be lingering in the street.
And she should have a lantern jaw like Wendy Williams.
A lantern jaw where it lights up.
A Green Lantern jaw.
No, it's just like a big kind of Jay Leno jaw.
A Kilowog?
Yeah, kind of. Do you have any theories on the lady that's
Which
appearing?
lady?
The lady in all the DC comics that's showing up.
He thinks it's Wendy Williams. I'm telling you.
Well, that is one.
It's going to be Wendy in the Tiny Titans.
I like it.
But I think it might be we said before we're talking. It might be an anti-monitor.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think it's a monitor of some sort.
You know what would be awesome? What if it's the time traveler Superman from that Legions of the Three Worlds?
The time trapper.
Yeah, where Superman was old with a beard and a scarlet S on him. What if it's him? That would be cool.
That's Superboy Prime.
Yeah, all grown up.
But they took care of Superboy Prime in Titans 100.
Yes.
It's true.
They did. Yes.
We should put that on. We got to figure out what the cloaked figure could be in the Tiny Titans. It'd be cool if they unmasked the cape and it's like three Titans all standing on each other's shoulders. Maybe the bottom is a little Jeff Johns or something.
Yeah,
that'd be funny.
That would make me laugh.
Or maybe it's Dan DiDio. That'd be cool too.
Or like Azzarello did in that Dr. 13 story, that it's Jeff and Greg Rucka and Waid and Grant when they were the architects.
Maybe it's Ambush Bug.
Oh yeah. Oh, it could be Ambush Bug.
That'd be funny. That was Ambush Bug. I like that.
Speaking of Mark Waid, I hear that there's rumors that he's going to be on tonight.
I'm excited.
Is that true? Is he going to be here tonight?
Yeah, we don't want to ruin it for anybody in case they're just joining us.
Yeah, but it's on the lobby card, isn't it, Franco?
Oh, that's true.
It might be. True. I don't know.
It probably will be.
I can leave it off. This way people will be surprised.
We want people to know. It was like Gail.
Yeah, that's true. She does have some nice hair, that Gail Simone.
She does.
It's very true. And, man, that Batgirl issue was fantastic.
Oh, I got to get mine still.
See? I was just complaining to Johnny that I don't have any of them yet.
Some of us don't have a comp box and actually have to go and purchase our comics at the local vendor.
Some of us have real things and important things to do during the day, so we can't go out and get them right away.
Yeah, whatever.
I got to wait a month for that, though. I did go out and buy some of the number ones, though.
Did you?
Yeah, because I can't wait.
Yeah, me neither.
Comp box for like a month and a half sometimes.
I know. I was telling Franco before we called you about some of the ones that I've already read. And I'm really excited about. Honestly, I feel like Father Flanagan in Boys Town. I have not read a comic I didn't like so far this week.
Wow.
Awesome.
Every one of them I bought, I have enjoyed every story. Varying degrees of how much I've enjoyed them. But honestly, I think a lot of them are great. And even the thing that and Franco and I were talking last night, the thing that I was worried about all summer.
Ooh, it was heated, Johnny. Heated last night.
No, not at all. You know it wasn't.
You hate me.
Father Flanagan beat?
No, it was good. No, it wasn't Angry Yoko Chips. It was just a good discussion, about what a first book should be like. And while I felt that, Justice League #1, I'm not sure if it would work or not for a first-time reader. I think a lot of the books from the first week absolutely would, and would get people that there was enough story in a first issue, and wow, I can't wait to read what's next.
Yeah.
That's a true story.
It's absolutely true.
So does Father Flanagan read comics?
I don't know. I never saw that when Spencer Tracy played him in Boys Town. Or Men of Boys Town, the fine sequel.
The Men of Boys Town.
Yep.
Formerly known as Boys. It sounds like a boy
and the
band.
town in which they live in.
Did you ever watch, Frank? I don't know if... I know that it used to be on Family Classics all the time when I was a kid, Boys Town. And I don't know if Artie ever saw that with his grandmother. You ever see that?
I did. Yeah, anything with Spencer Tracy, we had to watch it.
Mickey Rooney was the kid.
Yeah.
Whitey, little Whitey.
Yeah.
He was like the juvenile delinquent that sent to Boys Town to straighten out.
Yeah, and he's like the world's most non-toughest looking guy ever.
Yeah, he's got that baby face and those cheeks that you just want to pinch forever that he still has at 93 or however old he is. And
wasn't there some sort of claim?
60.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely over 60. But wasn't there some sort of claim recently that he was being abused by caretakers or something like that?
Yeah, I remember he went to Congress. And he's he's was an advocate for abuse for the aged. And yeah, apparently
well,
they're striking poor Mickey.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
wow, way to bring this whole podcast down, Johnny.
He's a dancer too.
you want to hear a crazy podcast, and this is like 10 years old. The guy clearly, and he's in his like late 80s, early 90s or whatever. Maybe he's only in his early 80s because Boys Town was the 30s. But anyway.
Once you get to the 80s, I don't know if it's late or early, but you're there.
Yeah, you are there.
So I'm in my 80s now.
But he was on he was on Turner Classic Movies with Robert Osborne. Let's talk with Mickey Rooney and discuss his career. And it was a really interesting interview. But yeah, he is like, if he were a ship, nobody's at the wheel because he went from subject to subject. And it was very, like, his stories were fascinating if you like old Hollywood. But he was all over the place. But it's still very interesting. And they have an audio podcast that it's like unedited. So you hear like he yells at some points and he's quiet at some points. Robert, wouldn't that make a wonderful movie? And he was talking about, I could still pass for 69. Wow. And I'm like, really? Oh, maybe from like a real far distance, Mick, but I don't know, man.
So basically what you're saying is Mark is on this week, and then we should get Mickey Rooney next week.
I'd like that.
Let's just tell people he's going to be on.
Mickey Rooney's going to be on next week.
There you go.
Interview.
I was the most powerful actor in the world in 1939, Robert.
He would make a good Jimmy Olsen, that guy.
Yeah, he would. Back in the day.
There's someone out there in the listening audience right now going, I don't know who Mickey Rooney is.
I've got an in for that for those of us under 30. Us. I'm not under 30. But Night in the Museum. He was one of the old security guards. He's a little stubby one from Night in the Museum.
He's a color guy. That's right.
Wow. That's within the last 10 years,
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, Johnny does his research.
Every now and then.
Yeah.
My mom is really impressed with you, Johnny.
She's very sweet, Artie.
Yeah.
I like your parents.
Zod says, your mom wears plaid? And then he says, oh, wait, but your mom's nice. And I take that back.
Right, no.
He said.
No, I liked meeting the Baltazars. Dinner with the Baltazars was a delight.
Yeah.
It was a good
That's how
time.
it was for me every day, Johnny. You got lucky.
You got lucky. You only got off one night.
That's right. Dinner with the muscle. It's different. I don't eat that much with him, just on the road.
I'd like to make an independent film, My Dinner with the Muscle.
That's right.
Hey, dude, you gonna eat that bread?
That's right. You'd have muscles the whole time.
It's true. Yeah, you could go to a seafood place and actually order mussels as well. That's
Eating
a good point.
seafood with Jimmy the Muscle.
Pulling Jimmy the Muscle through the shell. That's a song by Squeeze.
Oh, yeah, Squeeze. So you still at work right now, Johnny?
Yes, sir.
All right.
It's a remote broadcast tonight.
So you're sticking it to the man right now.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I did say 2, right? Not in?
Yeah, 2.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, you're sticking
For those scoring at home, that would be sticking it to the man.
Don't worry, he can edit that. For those of you just joining us.
Because you know what's going on right now. It's like, I know Mark Waid's got still about a half hour till we get him going. So I'm charging up right now with some Red Bull.
I've got a nice...
Stutters are happening already.
I got a nice Starbucks venti coffee that I'm enjoying.
Oh, that's nice. That's a thing of beauty right there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'll probably text Avery before Mark comes on. You guys can have a moment to talk about me in private.
Oh, that's
like last time.
I always look forward.
Did you listen to that last one?
Did you ever listen yet, Johnny?
No, I haven't listened yet. I got to be honest.
Okay.
I like it being a mystery.
It was only nice things. It was nice.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
I'll be slapping you boys in New York. I'm never speaking to you again. How dare you?
That's funny. Ha ha, Johnny.
A little bit. I haven't read Paul Cornell's Stormwatch yet, with Miguel Sepulveda doing the art.
That's one where Martian Manhunter's on a team, right?
Yeah, he is.
He's all green, that guy.
I got to read that because Johnny told me he described one of my favorite episodes of Doctor Who there. We were talking about that last night, too.
If you guys have not seen, those of you listening, Paul Cornell's Doctor Who episodes, that I'm sure is the reason why Marvel and DC were excited to have him start writing comics, because they're so good.
Yeah, I enjoyed his Lex Luthor, or the Action Comics with Lex Luthor in it run.
Me too.
But then when you told me, you told me which episodes he had written, but I hadn't gotten to the one we spoke about, and I forget the name of it.
Human Heart or Human...
The aliens from...
Yeah, it was
Human Condition or something
I
like
think
that?
it was Human Condition. It was a David Tennant episode, and it's a two-parter, and Martha's the companion.
Right.
And it's the early 1900s, and the Doctor has convinced himself that he's a human from the early 1900s.
And I was telling Johnny about this episode, and halfway through it, he tells me, well, Paul Cornell wrote that one. And I'm like, no, get out! Because that episode just freaked me out. freaked me right out.
Oh, that's cool.
It was a really good episode.
Oh my God! There's so many levels. It's a great love story, and it's a really nice World War I story, and also you get to see this very dark side of the Doctor. And I had this awesome talk with Paula.
Oh yeah, I was going to say this is a plug for you, Johnny, because you told me that I have to go back and find it, but you have a word balloon episode where you talk to him about that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So go back and find it and listen to that, because I'm gonna.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, awesome. It was a pretty popular episode when it came out, and I know a lot of Doctor Who fans were interested in the conversation. So now Paul's a great Doctor Who writer, and I really hope that Steve Moffat, who he is friends with, they're able to find a time in Paul's schedule where he can submit a story and get a new episode out there, because he has yet to write a Matt Smith Doctor Who. But he wrote one for Christopher Eccleston called Father's Day, and the two-parter for David Tennant. And, I think they're, I guess, and also that was based on a Doctor Who paperback that he did, a paperback story. I can't remember if it was just a short story or a full novel, but that's what he adapted it from, and it's great. Paul's a really cool writer.
Why is Doctor Who named Doctor Who?
They never really. I mean, it's kind of a joke.
It's because he's just called the Doctor and
Doctor Who.
Doctor Who. Yeah,
pretty much.
Could have a question mark, but does the guy Doctor Who have a real name? Is he just known as the Doctor?
Yeah, he's just known as the Doctor, and he has some sort of alien name, but they've never said what it specifically is.
So what's his purpose? I know that I have to wake up every day and have coffee and draw comics. What does?
Well, he's
Dr.
pretty much
Who
the same way.
do?
Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah, he has a Red Bull.
Yeah.
But instead of drawing comics, he does something else.
Yeah, he flies around in a little TARDIS, a little police box, and you get up and draw comics, and he just flies around in a police box. So it's pretty much the same thing.
So he's a cop?
It's a combination time machine spaceship.
Yeah.
He stole it. His people are called the Time Lords, and he was bored with their way of life. So he went to a museum. It was kind of like Booster Gold. He went to a museum and he stole a time machine from their museum, an older model of what they call the TARDIS, and he flew back to Earth in 1963. And normally the TARDIS has a chameleon component to its spaceship so that it'll make itself look like and blend with anything that wherever they land, and at whatever time period, it will blend into the scenery. And if it was to go back to ancient Rome, it would look like maybe a Corinthian column or something like that.
It's kind of like what the Battlestar Galactica ships did in Battlestar 1980 when they landed and they walked into the ships. Remember, they were invisible?
Oh, that's right, they were invisible. Well, this one would actually change its shape. And so when it went back to 1963 London, it was made to look like an emergency box that they had in London where you could call the police directly.
Yeah.
And that's the police box. But it's a chameleon component malfunction, so it's stuck looking like a police box.
I see.
So he doesn't fix it because he likes it that way.
Yeah, he kind of likes it. So
plus, it saves on the budget. If it's just
that's exactly right. That's exactly right, Adi.
That's exactly right.
That's why they did it. That was a cheap way of having a spaceship look reasonable.
And I have to admit, and I hate telling Johnny he's absolutely right, but he told me to give it 5 episodes. I told him 3 is all I'll do.
Fair enough.
At the 3rd episode, I was like, damn. All right, I'll watch another 2 because Johnny said, no, you got to get to at least 5. And then I got to 5, and then I think I hit the Charles Dickens episode, I think, by that
that's
time.
Cool. And
then I was hooked.
Funny.
So then,
they're good, huh?
You get into them, and there's some that are better than others.
Exactly.
But this one by Paul Cornell just really threw me for a loop. I was watching it. I was on vacation in Florida.
Yeah, you were.
A while ago, and I was watching. Everybody had gone to sleep, and I'm watching this thing, and it's freaking me out, and everybody's asleep, and I'm like getting up and pacing around the room. I'm like, oh my gosh, holy cow! My wife's like, what's going on? I'm like, nothing. Go back to sleep. It's okay.
I'm watching Paul Cornell.
I was freaking out so much that I woke her up. So
did the show make you freak?
Yeah, it was freaky. I was like, I can't believe it ended that way. I can't believe he did that.
I
type
understand.
thing.
Crazy.
My wife does that with Breaking Bad.
I usually don't do that. I'm usually pretty self-contained. I can hold on to it, but
Like a one-shot, you know?
Yeah.
Like a one-shot comic. There's
I like
self-contained. Like it's good.
I don't know if I want to be called as One-Shot Franco now.
No.
I don't know if I like that.
Maybe Body Shot.
Ooh, ow.
Or a one-hitter, maybe? I don't know.
Interesting.
Why do you hate us, Johnny?
No, we got to save that for when you
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Save it. Johnny's good. He likes us.
Uh-oh.
That's good.
Uh-oh. I'm getting an inkling. I think I'm getting an inkling.
You're not getting anything.
Yeah, if inkling means sandwich, then I agree.
Well, I need a sandwich.
Could be.
I'm inking it back all right now.
Are you?
Until Mark Waid comes.
Cool.
There's rumors that Mark Waid's coming today.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
Is he going to be on the show? Or are you just pulling my leg here?
I can't reach you. You're all the way in New York.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, but he's coming. Because he tried to steal my Harvey.
He did. I was there.
Confront him about this thing.
Crazy.
Because the photographer sent me a link to all the photos he took of the Harvey Awards and stuff. And the photographer didn't know what was in that box. He just took a bunch of pictures because the situation was funny. Like Mark Waid trying to steal this box from me. So when finally the guy sent me the link and I told him that I'm not going to let Mark Waid have my Harvey Award. And he said, oh, that's what was in the box. And then I got the LOL emailed to me.
You got lolled?
I got lolled, yeah.
I like getting lulled.
Yeah, it's all right. That's how you know you're doing good.
I'm with
Internet wise. I think we might be cooler on the internet. I'm not sure.
It's possible.
Instead of real life? Is that what you're saying?
I think internet enhances us. Enhances our coolness factor. That's what I'm thinking.
How so? How does that happen?
Well, you just got to feel it. There's just no way to really describe. It's just a feeling. It's kind of like the Force with Obi-Wan. You got to just let it happen.
Well, there's something to talk about because you're a big Star Wars guy. How do you feel about changes yet again to the new Blu-ray box set?
Some things I'm real curious and I read them all, look at them all. The one that made me laugh out, it made me LOL, was when they changed remember the scene where Obi-Wan scares away the sand people?
Yeah.
And back when we saw it in 1980 or whatever.
I don't think John is interested. He's typing away.
I hear you.
No, I'm listening. Absolutely, I'm just multitasking while we're discussing. By all means.
But when they, I think in 1980 or whatever, when Empire Strikes Back came out, the Noid or original Star Wars.
The Noid?
Yeah.
Did you just say the Noid? The pizza?
Noid.
The Pizza Hut Noid or Domino's Pizza Noid?
Yeah, all right. But, when Obi-Wan scared away the sand people, the original noise he made was like a click or something. It was a distraction. Mm-hmm. And then when that new special edition came out,
right.
he made the noise of the crate dragon, the mortal enemies of the sand people. So when you saw it in 1997 in the theater, it was like a roar or some kind of growl. But this last one, I was watching him. I don't know why they changed it yet again, because now it sounds like he clicks his fingers and it sounds like a guy. Like it sounds like. That's what it sounds like now.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that in the right ear. Can you say that again, please?
What does it sound like?
Sounds like Curly from the Three Stooges. But it almost sounds like one of those McGilla Gorilla Monkey. And I'm watching this thing and I'm laughing and people heard me. What's going on? I'm watching Star Wars, So,
insane.
Well, Obi-Wan Kenobi comes over the hill to save Luke Skywalker going...
Yeah. And the funny part is that the same people see it and like, let's get out of here. And they run. It's no longer scary. I would be more curious of what the hell made that noise.
That's awesome.
That's his happy Sasquatch coming or something.
I like it.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the mating call of the Wookiees.
I still can't get over the whole no being.
Yeah, that was.
Well, that's the other thing that they're adding is because there was such big backlash about the Frankenstein no after in episode 3 that they're adding it to when he saves Luke at the end from the Emperor. They're adding another one in.
Which is so dumb.
They added a subtle one where he's thinking about it and he says, no. And then it's kind of like when, you know what it sounded like?
It's forlorn, Darth.
Exactly,
you know what it sounded like is, remember in the Planet of the Apes with Caesar when he was about to destroy all the people with the rifles?
Yes.
When you're smashing the human skulls with the rifles?
Ooh.
And in the crowd, you see this chimpanzee girl that he likes.
Lisa.
The ones that he got it on with.
Yeah, Lisa.
And what's her name, Issa?
Or Lisa. Are you saying from Conquest or from Rust?
Conquest, the one wearing green. And remember when she looked up, she said the word. She went, no.
Yep.
That's kind of like how Vader said it in that new Star Wars trailer.
That's sad.
And then when he picks up the Emperor, that's when he goes, no.
And it's like, why? It's so unnecessary. I mean, the music and his actions explain exactly what he's doing and why he's doing it. You could tell from the way David Prowse was moving that he was.
I disagree with you, Johnny. I think Darth Vader can display a whole range of emotions that you're not letting him.
I guess so.
No.
Exactly.
I don't know how I feel. I just know that I don't have to buy a DVD player now.
A Blu-ray.
Because when I saw they were coming out, I'm like, damn, I got to get a DVD player now. And then I saw those, I'm like, all right, not so hurry.
Never mind.
Not so urgent.
Never mind.
Because I'm satisfied with my regular DVD player.
Should I ask Artie the thing about the movie question that we were trying to think of last night, Franco, where you couldn't think of the movie Artie specifically suggested to a fan? Or is that for a private conversation?
Uh-oh.
Oh, no, you can. Yeah.
Okay. It was in reaction. We were talking.
I won't mention specifics, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we were talking about the fan reaction to the new 52 and how people are so upset and they're changing, what they liked best about the characters and stuff. And Franco told me that you had a similar conversation with somebody at a convention about movies, and I don't know what specific movie it was that they remade. Do you remember? Do you know what I'm talking about, Artie?
I think it was a movie or something where a guy was saying that he was always comparing the newer stuff to an older movie, and then you told him, well, if you like that one so much, go ahead.
It was the guys talking about. It started with one guy telling me that he hated the Wolverine Origins movie.
Okay.
And right away, I know why he hated it. But I'm thinking, I want somebody to tell me the reason why it was so bad. I want them to tell me something that has something to do with the movie, rather than telling me, oh, but Deadpool was wrong. Okay, Deadpool being wrong doesn't make the movie bad. It makes Deadpool wrong.
Sure.
Then he said, well, Wolverine didn't lose his memory. Okay, but that still doesn't the movie. So nobody could ever tell me what was wrong with the movie, with the story, with.
Right, they were just picking apart the character flaws that they remember from the comics that weren't in the movie.
Yeah, something different from exactly. Right. And then another guy joined in, and he was talking about the new Batman, and then he's talking about how bad the new Batmans were, and they weren't as good as
the Christopher Nolan, Christian Bale.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he hated those, but he said they weren't as good as the animated series Batman.
Okay.
So these guys were pointing out the best parts of everything, and then the same guy with Batman pointed out that they never got a Superman right since Kirk Allen. I'm like, since really?
Wow.
That's I said, you don't think they've done it? And that's the very first thing.
Yep.
And I said, you mean they didn't do anything right since then? I said, what about Christopher Reeve? And he goes, no, and then he'd list his whole things, what was wrong.
Wow.
And so he's comparing Superman, he's comparing the movies, and then he talked real bad about anything Superman. The only ones he liked were Kirk Allen and the Fleischer cartoons.
Hilarious.
So these guys kept telling me all these things, and they were saying how Spider-Man 1 was good and number 3 sucked, and how Watchmen was awful, and how all the sequels. And I said, all right, guys, did you enjoy watching Spider-Man crawl up on the wall with cables with the strainers for eyes in the 70s? Did you like that? And one guy said, the guy who hated everything, he says, well, that was okay. That was pretty cool. I said, why it was cool? Because you were like 6 years old. Yeah. And you saw that on TV, and it was awesome. And he goes, He goes, yeah, but this and this. So they kept going on and on how X-Men was wrong, how these movies. So I told him, okay, here's what you do. Read about the movie and read about the release date. And when you see that the new X-Men movie is going to be in theaters this Friday, you stay home. He's like, why? I said, because you're going to hate it. You haven't liked anything since Kirk Allen. So stay home and put that Kirk Allen movie on again. And just stay home and watch
Just keep watching that.
Just keep watching that one.
Every time there's a new movie, you stay home and watch that one.
Stay home and watch the stuff you like. Because it's obvious that you haven't liked anything since 1948. So
that's worse than me, man.
Just watch that movie. And I told the other guy, and you, on this Batman movie, you go home and watch Adam West, whatever movie he liked. So
that's right, Commissioner.
I got these guys so riled up because they were just stupid.
Hilarious.
So then they apologized for getting me upset. And I said, I'm not upset. But if you want to go home and watch your Doctor Strange from 1975 with his mustache, go ahead and put it on.
Yeah.
I said, for one, I'm happy that there's a choice of superhero movies, no matter if they're good or bad. But we could either go watch a kind of okay Superman or superhero movie, or we could watch Spider-Man crawl up the walls with eye strainers again.
That's true.
All right? You could put that on where he fights ninjas with shoelaces. You throw shoelaces on the guy.
But that was exactly the conversation we were having last night with these people who are just doing nothing but complaining about the new 52 and I told you.
I told that too. That story too. When I went to a convention and it's a convention, the Mego convention, and I said, these guys all know me and they're gonna attack me as soon as I walk in. They're gonna say, what's up with this 52? But all the guys, they're all like us. They're men, and we don't have to ask questions that we know are stupid. So we walked in, and when people ask me, come out and ask me questions about the new 52 number ones, I have no idea. And I'm finding out as people find out. So out of the whole group, it was one younger girl, and she asked me, so what's up with this? And I'm thinking in my head, I think I might have told her too. I said, out of all the people, it had to be you. I had no idea it would be you. She's like, what? And
you gave her the Fredo. I knew it was you.
So I walked away like, man. So I told her, because then she brought her boyfriend to complain. And I said, okay, how long have you been reading comics? And she said, since it was like 20 years or whatever. And I said, so you got some graphic novels at home? Yep. Who was your favorite? And she told me. I said, you got collections of some of those stories? Yep. I said, okay, you could stop buying comics. She's like, what? I said, just stop buying comics. Just stay home and read those collections again. Since you have 20 years of collections, it should take you another 20 years to reread them all.
Absolutely.
You get these people that are just, they feel entitled. Once they join the club, once they become, through the membership and become comic readers, they feel entitled.
Yes.
That no, you can't let anybody else in because we own this and this is the way it should be for forever.
I've heard fans say, and I'm just using this as an example, Spider-Man is more important to me as a reader than it is to you, writer, who's only been writing Spider-Man for a year, because I have been reading Spider-Man for over 20 years and almost my entire life. And it's like, really?
Well,
I know this character better than you.
Yeah, the ultimate answer to that is Spider-Man is important to Disney because they owe him.
Yeah,
they own him now, and they're going to make
move on.
Exactly. Hey man, honestly, the early 90s, I didn't like what was being written by DC and Marvel, and I walked away. And I stayed away for a few years, and it really wasn't until 1999, and I heard that Kevin Smith was writing Daredevil, that I'm like, oh, I'll check that out. And I heard that he was writing it like Frank Miller. And then that was kind of my doorway back into comics. And I'm like, oh, I wonder what's happening in DC. And I discovered Brubaker and Rucka and everybody that was writing Batman. And I really liked Jeff Loeb when he was writing Superman. And I'm like, oh man, comics are good again. Okay, I'm back.
Wasn't Mark Waid doing like a Flash thing around then or something?
He was just
drawing
actually exactly. He was my favorite Flash artist. It's true. Should we call?
I think I might be channeling Mark Waid. I'm a little riled up now, Johnny.
Yeah, I think it's time.
All right, let me.
He's got 1 minute.
Let me call him now and see what happens.
Yeah.
See if he emailed me. Mr. Waid.
Yes, sir. Can you guys hear this right now? Oh, I guess we're on hold. That's all right.
Yeah, hello.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, sir. How are you tonight?
Pretty good, man. Good to talk to you. I'm just trying to figure out on my Mac interface to have this call join the conference with Art and Franco. Here we go. I got it.
All right. Excellent.
So I'm going to pop it over right now.
Okay.
There we go.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Waid.
Hey, gentlemen, how are you this evening?
Hey, sir. We were just getting riled up talking about comics.
I'm again 'em. That's what I say.
Channeling your energy.
That's
Actually, Mark thought we would be talking about shoe stores tonight.
That's
so
right, exactly.
he's surprised
So
that comics are the subject for tonight.
I'm all crushed. So, we're going to talk about comic books? Oh, okay. I'll put on that hat then. Okay.
Wendy Williams. You like Wendy Williams?
I know. Who doesn't like Wendy Williams or Wendy O. Williams? Which?
Either one's fine.
Oh, well.
Usually you're saying Wendy O. Williams. That's usually how you
I don't think Art's talking about the plasmatics. I think he's talking about the talk show host, unfortunately.
That's the thing. Although it would be kind of cool to see the talk show host be in the plasmatics. That would be kind of awesome.
She could wear the electric tape much like Wendy O. Williams did. I think you're right, sir.
Artie has no idea what we're talking about.
I don't know Wendy O. Williams.
It's a shout-out to 80s New Wave.
Is there not a computer anywhere near you? We live in the age of Google, man.
I'm Googling it right now.
Wendy O. Williams.
You could probably hear me. I'm going to angry type. Ready?
We're going to hear Artie's retinas burn as he...
I know.
Oh, no, we lost Francis. How do we lose Francis? I will
I
get
was gonna
Francis
ask.
back.
Oh, we did.
All right, I'm going to get Franco while we're talking here, boys.
Okay.
You keep going.
All right.
She has. Oh, I see her.
Yes.
She's not doing it to me. Oh,
No.
I see. Some of these pictures are, though.
Oh, man.
Seems like
This
she
is
really
why
liked-
we can't... This is why we can't have nice things. See, you before
That's
you
true.
know it, you're all up in Google. You're all... Don't
Yeah.
image search. Filter. Make sure the moderate safe search is on or something. So.
Yeah, it's moderate because I just see a lot of, I see a lot of whipped cream and Cool Whip right now. But
So are you even now basking in the cool shadow of your latest Harvey Award, or what are you doing?
My mom saw it today. She came over today and hung out.
Well, first off, of course she saw it because you wear it on a chain around your neck.
It's in the baby chair in the car, you know.
I know.
Kids.
How does it work? The two of you, do you get it like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Franco gets it the other days, or how does it work?
Hello.
Yeah, we trade back and forth with the Harvey Award.
There you go.
It's pretty good.
And we have Franco now, gentlemen.
Excellent.
All right.
Our party is complete.
Indeed.
Yeah, you got.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Good. How are you this evening, sir?
Pretty good.
Yeah, it was cool to watch you. You got to present Stan Lee with his Lifetime Achievement Award.
I got to say that was an honor and a half. I mean, that was we actually, like, in all seriousness, one of the great delights of the last couple of years has been that I have managed to, because we've been doing this superhero stuff through Boom, Stan and I, we've actually have sort of built a relationship that is. It is not a, hey, come hang out by the pool relationship, but neither is it a, what is your name again, son, relationship. It's somewhere in the middle. But it's been great. I mean, he was so sincerely flattered by the things that were said, even though he couldn't hear a word of them.
Yeah.
And, and you just, by asking me that, you remind me I need to transcribe my speech such as it was, because he said it was a lovely speech. I'd love to have a copy of it, and I just thinking I just kind of spoke extemporaneously, but okay, I can write up a little speech. So
I was so amazed that Stan was so witty and funny, and he's like going to be 90 years old soon. But I thought he was out of his mind when I first met him.
I know, and then you realize the problem is not him, it's you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the perception. I got to stop judging, you know.
Well, you can't. I mean, he's 90 years old. He's just, and again, I can't. My knees hurt when I get up out of a chair now. And he's just on top of it. He's energetic. What? And this is actually, I'm going to bring this back around to you guys, because I sense the same sort of energy. It's just the idea that how cool is it to be so in love with what it is that you do for a living that you get up every morning with that same sort of energy, and you can't wait to tackle the day. And I get that. I mean, I don't for all I know, you actually could be writing all this stuff through an alcohol, days. But I'm going to assume that you got. I'm going to assume that you guys really, really dig what you do.
Yeah, that's true story, sir.
Yes.
Because I talked to one of my friends recently, and he likes to complain about comics, and he always told me that every time he tries to complain about comics with me, I turn him around, and he ends up buying like 3 more titles a month.
There you go.
I said, well, whatever you don't like, just switch. Give it a try.
You told me you weren't going to tell that story on the air.
Oh, it wasn't.
The thing is, we have, we all, look, everybody bitches about their job every once in a while. You can't help it. It's just human nature. But we do have cool jobs. I mean, we really are lucky in that way. And I'm reminded, Larry David once said the one thing he will never joke about on Curb Your Enthusiasm, the one thing he'll never be glib about is the fact that he's a millionaire, because nobody wants to hear the problems of a millionaire.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I totally get it. Like, nobody, we can get together at the bar after Baltimore and kvetch a little bit about the industry, but on the face of it, no one wants to hear us gripe about comics when they're working at Walmart for 40 hours a week,
I understand.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The cool thing too about the older guys, and I got this too covering sports, I got to be good acquaintances with Bud Schulberg. And Mark, you probably know Bud Schulberg, screenwriter on The Waterfront.
Sure.
The final Humphrey Bogart film, The Harder They Fall, wonderful sports writer. And much like Stan, a guy that was still very productive into his late 80s, early 90s. And I got to interview him a few times in a sports capacity. And yeah, that's what's, to me, is so cool, is when you meet these elder statesmen and they still have it creatively, and it's fun to feel like you're walking with history when you get a chance to collaborate with them.
Yeah, although back up a little bit, because you lost me on one turn. So explain to me the sports connection, because was he fielding for the Yankees at the time? Was he?
well, Bud was still writing about boxing.
Okay, I see. Okay,
and we would go to fights, and I covered boxing as well for 15 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had the pleasure of hanging out at fights in New York and at Vegas and stuff, and it was just fun. I mean, here was a guy who literally saw and was friends with Jack Dempsey, and,
wow.
and was friends with all these fighters for decades from the 30s through the modern era, and could literally compare how Jack Dempsey was as heavyweight champion to Vladimir Klitschko, the current champion. And I mean, it was, Tyson, Lennox Lewis, all of them, he saw it all.
Well,
Shirley Povich was like that too with baseball, Maury Povich's dad.
Yeah. All right, let me hijack for a second. Let me hijack this thing. And speaking of boxing, and I apologize if this is a question you guys have answered 85 times on the podcast over the years, but speaking of boxing, walk us through the working relationship that you two guys have as you put this stuff together. Like,
you're jealous, are you?
What's the process? What's the, who plays bass, who plays guitar,
I'm not sure how we go. I know that
it's a very John Paul thing.
Yeah,
definitely.
one time. Yeah, but are you like the way me and Franco work, or are you talking about the pod? Well, me and Franco.
No, I meant the way John and Bud Schulberg work. Yes, I mean the way the comics creative end of it work. Yes.
I just googled Bud Schulberg. Yeah, I found out who he was. He's an old guy, but Johnny knows everything over 70 years old.
Sad but true.
But me and Franco,
the two of you sit down and create comics. What do you do?
Yeah, we now we do a lot of Skyping, a lot of texting and emailing, and we talk probably, well, in the summertime we talk every night. We talk about all kinds of things, about girls, about boys, about comics, kids, cars, playing about stuff. But we talk all the time, and we just end up talking about stories and writing them down, and we email back and forth, and when we have the stories all figured out and plot lines and stuff, then I'll make little thumbnails off of all the stuff we talked about, and then I'll start drawing pages. So it's pretty...
actually, it's a lot simpler than you would think. It's a conversation between two guys who really like what they're doing, and really like comic books, and the minute it starts to make us laugh, that's when we write it down.
Yeah, that's when you know it's good. Because a lot of times we'll talk, and then we'll talk anyway about stories, But once something's good, or like, oh, write that down, quick. So that's when because like now I'm working directly on the computer, so I'm always sitting in this chair all the time, every day. I actually have to physically plan to move my body. It's like, all right, I have to move at 8 o'clock tonight. I have to.
It's like Wall-E. You're like those guys in the spaceship. Yeah.
It's like we no longer have to run through the forest to catch food.
Right.
So now I have my phone here. I could order pizza, and my wife brings it down. So I don't have.
Life.
It's kind of like but it's good life, but you actually have to schedule some time to move your legs and arms and shower and all that stuff.
You know what else you have to do? And this is, I joke a lot in interviews and stuff about how the beauty of my job is I don't have to wear pants, but the reality of it is,
I'm not wearing any right now.
I heartily suggest that you wear pants all the time as you work, because otherwise what will happen is you'll go a couple, 3 days without wearing pants, and then you'll go to put them on and they won't fit anymore.
Yeah, you're actually right. They don't feel right, and they feel weird with things on your thighs.
A cautionary tale.
I was scared for a couple of seconds about where that was going, but I'm good. I'm good with where it wound up.
Let me build on the writing thing, because it's something I've been wanting to ask you, Mark, since the 52 project is well over and done. How, compared to what Art and Franco described to you, how different was it when you were writing 52 with the guys?
It really wasn't that different, because I can't write in a vacuum. I have to, for every story that I've done, every script that I've produced, at some point in that process, I'm going to get somebody on the phone, if it's my editor or if it's Tom Pyre or if it's Brian Augustin or somebody on the phone, and just walk through it with them and bounce ideas back and forth. And it works the same way with them too. I can probably, like, no kidding, I've written over 1,000 comic books in my career, and I can probably name 5 of them that I wrote without at any time calling some other writer or some other editor and bouncing ideas back and forth. I just don't work that way.
Okay.
Wow.
And I assume that it sounds to me like you guys the same way, which is the energy of it is the creative energy. There's a collaborative energy.
Because when we write other stuff, like we're writing the new Green Lantern series now, and we wrote the Shazam. But when we write stuff like that, we just talk and talk and talk and talk, and it's the same thing. And then the book comes out, and like, that's a lot of times that's when I read the scripts, but you forget about it. You probably do the same thing. Something you write 5 months ago finally hits the stands, and then it's fresh when you read it again, and it's kind of cool. See.
Yeah, you totally forget. I can remember comics I read 30 years ago, but I can't remember stuff that I wrote 3 months ago. Yeah.
Right.
But you did have a good run when you drew the Flash.
You're our favorite artist, man.
I love when you drew the Flash.
When I drew the Flash, it was awesome.
Do you remember the first time we met at the Mid-Ohio Con?
I do. I remember it was Mid-Ohio Con. I remember it was Mid-Ohio because John Byrne was there pissing off fans, and so therefore it must have been Mid-Ohio. I remember you guys handing me the Wolf Boy comic, and I just...
I went and bought a whole bunch of Flash figures and lined them up on the edge of my table where they were just up to the line where your table started.
Yeah.
And they were all looking at you. Every time you came to sign, I lined them all up.
I know. Oh, I treated you, and yet you were creeping me out. Yeah.
Well, I know. I knew that. I wasn't sure how it was coming, how it was being perceived by you, but you came back the next day.
Art knew he was about to cross the line and did it anyway.
Yeah. I remember.
That would seem to me to be a summation of the Art that we all know. In totality, he knew he was about to cross the line, but he did it anyway.
Well, in our defense, back in those days when we're trying to break into this industry, when we met people like you, our plan was to make sure that you didn't forget who we were.
Yeah.
So
mission accomplished.
Yeah, never pitch them an idea, never tell them a story, never give them anything, but just when they walk away, just make sure they remember who you are next time.
It worked. I mean, you guys left a really good impression, and I hope that I was, one of the gang. I hope I wasn't some feet.
At first, I thought I was going to get you mad, and then when I asked you to sign my Flash figure, you signed the base, and I'm like, oh, that guy's cool.
There you go.
I still have it on my shelf.
I have my moments. I have to live have to live with the reality, and this is the God's honest truth, and I live with the shame every day for 20 years. The first time I met a young cartoonist with his first issue in black and white out at a small, tiny gymnasium show somewhere in upstate New York, and at that time I was the big pro in the room. And I met the guy, and he had his little #1 black and white comic.
You told me you weren't going to tell this story on the air.
I know. And I was, my memory, he has been very kind to me since, and my memory is that I was pleasant. I was pleasant and professional to him, but I would have to be honest, and I would say I was probably a little bit full of that sort of, that's cute, kid, with your black and white comic. That's a good luck with that. I bet I was a little bit like that. And that young man, by the way, is Jeff Smith. So
cool. That's awesome.
So I hope, my terror every time I talk to somebody who I met at a convention when I was starting out or they were starting out, my terror is that I will find out 10 years later that I was a dick. And I'm glad to hear that. And you're just saying that because we're on the podcast. As soon as John shuts down the phones, it's going to be like, we plot our revenge is complete. But
I remember when you sat down in Mid-Ohio, I showed you where your table went up to. And I said, see, this side is my table. That side is yours. None of your stuff could come past this line. I remember telling you that.
I totally remember that. I blocked it out, but I remember it now.
And then I lined up everything on that line just so you would know that's
like Dwight Schrute. You're just like, you're making your boundaries there at the desk. I should have put your telephone in Jell-O. That's what I should have done.
That was fun.
Did you
put your hat in Jell-O? So
was there one creator, Mark, back that was really cool and like inspirational in terms of that? Because like Bendis, for example, when I talk to him, he always points out that like Walter Simonson was really cool to him when he was just getting started. Was there a guy like that for you that was established?
It's more fun to talk about the jerks. No.
Nice.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, there was. Actually, it was the very first comic professional I ever met was David Nicolini, who was a writer for DC and Marvel in the 70s and 80s and early 90s. And I was a high school kid living in Richmond, Virginia at the time. And it was the very first comic convention I'd ever been to. When I say convention, I'm being very kind because it was a one-day dealer show in a hotel, in a Holiday Inn there in Richmond, Virginia.
Sure.
And this is in like 1977 or something like that. And, I was over the moon. I'm like 14 or whatever I am, and I'm 15, and I'm, got my $20 that I've saved up all summer. I'm going to buy some comics. And then I meet this David Nicolini guy whose name I knew from the bylines. I take it back. I remember distinctly it was a 2-day show because looking back, I marvel at the patience with which he put up with me standing in front of his table asking a million questions for 2 solid days.
That's awesome.
I don't know how he did it. I look back now, every time, we joke about this, every time somebody is standing in front of my table at a convention and they're sort of listing back and forth from side to side slowly and they're moving from one foot to the next and then they don't say anything for 10 minutes, and they suddenly go, what do you think about Eclipso? Do you like Eclipso? And then they don't say anything for 10 minutes. I start to get a little annoyed, and then I think back to, oh, that was me. So, what about you guys? I mean, Artie, Franco, who were the first pros you met?
My very first show, it's my #1 first show I ever did. I was directly across from Adam West. And
I'm so jealous.
Yeah, and it was just like the show you're describing. It was in a room in a hotel lobby, and nobody came to the show. It was already like 2:30 in the afternoon, and nobody was even there.
Tumbleweeds,
so Adam West starts talking to me, and he starts looking at the sign that the show put with a computer printout. They wrote my name, and he says, "So, what kind of art is Baltazar art?"
That's a pretty good joke.
That's my name, sir. And he said to me, is Batman still popular? And this was, the movie came, Michael Keaton was in the theater. And I said, yeah, well, there's a new movie with Jack Nicholson, and that animated series is on Fox now. "Oh, that's right." And then when he came over by me, he said, "Well, come on over. You want a picture, autograph?" I said, "Sure." So I went to go get an autograph. And so right when I went to shake his hand, his security guard was there, and it was a big, like, Tony Soprano looking guy. He had the suit and everything.
Oh yeah.
The earpiece, the sunglasses. So he put his hand on my chest. "Not so fast. Don't crowd Mr. West." And
Yeah.
I'm like, "Dude, I'm the only guy here." And then Adam West said, "He's okay. This is Art Baltazar. It's okay." And then I told the guy, I said, "Hey, shouldn't you be wearing a little yellow cape?" And then he was so that was my very first show. It's a true story.
I'm so jealous. I'm so. Hey, Tom, this has nothing to do with anybody on this conversation right now, but it's just a good story. Tom Pyre, my pal Tom Pyre, whose name you will recognize as a comics writer. He has
Big fan.
The greatest met Adam West story I've ever heard, and that was that he met him when he was already an adult. Like he was, but he decided he would stand in line for Adam West's autograph at some convention. Long line. He has plenty of time to think of just exactly what the right thing to say to Adam West. You want to say exactly the right thing. You've only got 1 second.
Yeah.
I got one moment to interact. You want to say just the thing that he'll remember forever, that he will be delighted by. And at that moment, there was some sort of big crisis. It was in New York City, and there was some big crisis happening or something. There was some big, like economic, garbage strike or something like that, right? So Tom gets closer and closer, and he's racking his brain. He doesn't know what to say. He's going to leave an impression on Adam West. And he finally gets up there, and off the top of his head, he says, "So, yeah, the garbage strike. I wonder what Mayor Linseed would make of that, huh?" And Adam West just looked at him with a 1,000-mile stare, like he was insane, and didn't get the joke, didn't understand, and Tom walked away with his tail between his legs. And I think ever since then, he's never quite been the same.
He's awesome. I met the whole Batman crew in Motor City Con a few years ago, and it was the Batman show, so they were all there. All the Catwomen's were there, and Batman and Robin. So I did Catwomen's. I
like it.
So I did a painting, and I painted all the characters on it, and I wanted to go get it signed. And when I got in Adam West's line, I told him, "Please sign it for my son Gordon." He goes, "Gordon, just like the commissioner." And when he handed the painting back to me, I don't know why, but there was a jar of jelly was on his table.
As happens.
I have no idea. But after he gave me it, I told him that, "This is great, sir. Thank you. You mean a lot, and our family really love it." And then he looked at the jelly and he says, "I love this jelly." And then he grabbed it. And he held it up, and I'm like, "Ah, man, I gotta go."
Do back on Earth
That
right
was the
now.
last time. I was like, man, he went from being confused with my name and then to loving jelly. So I can't wait to meet him again.
What about you, Franco? Who was the first pro you met?
One of the first ones I met that I had the actual, I had gotten signatures on comic books, but one of the first ones I approached for advice was Archie Goodwin.
Oh, you were a lucky man.
Yeah, and he was leaving, and I kind of said, "Well, I just kind of wanted just a couple seconds if you could just look through this stuff," and he's like, "Well, all right. Okay, we can make it quick, but okay." And I'll never forget, he took me behind the booth so he wouldn't get, bothered or interrupted by anybody else coming up. And I'll tell you, he just laid into me about what I was doing wrong, big time.
Wow.
But in the nicest way.
Yeah.
And just point by point saying, "Look, this is what you need to work on. This is not up to par. This is what you need to do." This, and straight down the line. And I remember just being in such awe of that he wasn't condescending. It wasn't mean-spirited, but it was, "Look, this is what you're doing wrong. This is what you need to do." And it was just a good experience where I left going, "Yeah, that's what I need to do." You know,
what a gift! To not only that he gave you, but just what a gift he had as a human being for being able to just be nice to everybody on that level and be professional. Archie, you know, for anybody who is listening who isn't clued into this, I mean, Archie was an editor in the black and white magazines of the '60s and stuff. He came on to Marvel and DC in the late '60s, early '70s, and passed away a few years ago. But Archie, you know, as an editor and as a writer, he was the writer's writer. He was the one that all of the guys of the generations previous to us held up as the exemplar of the best writer in comics. And he was certainly one of the greatest writers ever in comics. But more than that, he was one of the best editors in comics. And he's as close to a universally loved figure in comics as we have ever seen. I mean, you know, there are people like Artie, for instance, who still, you know, hones a grudge against Stan Lee for that time in Tijuana, but nobody didn't love Archie. Nobody. And that's, you know, like me. Yeah. No, like, you know, it's like, you know, Stan, Archie, me. Like, you know, the universally loved. So.
Well, you got the reputation of where everyone says, "Well, don't get him mad. Don't get Mark Waid.
Don't cross Mr. Waid.
Don't get him.
I know.
He'll take it." I'm like, why? I tried to get him mad first time I met him.
That was before I had the power to crush you ruthlessly. Yeah. Now I will. And I hold your fate in my palm. It's awesome.
But I always see you when I work, and I'm always put on all these DVD extras, and you're on quite a few of them.
You know this. John knows this. John knows that you put a microphone in front of my face, I'll go for it. It's like cheese to a mouse.
But you deliver, Mark. I saw you on Wednesday before the San Diego Comic-Con got going when you were at the IVC2 thing. Yeah. And I'm telling you that conference had kind of gotten to a very lull point, and you just came in and were firing with both rounds, and you were fantastic. Everyone's like, boom.
I asked afterwards. I said, they had, before the San Diego convention, they had a day that the ICV2.com guys and Milton Greep and those fellows had put together a conference for professionals and for retailers about digital. And it was a series of panels, and I was on the last one, which is, I don't even remember what the topic was anymore because we got off the topic pretty quickly. But as usual, I just got in there and just hijacked the whole damn thing and started firing invectives to the audience. And I remember Fred Pierce, I said something that you can't really repeat on the radio, but he was in the audience. It was good-natured, but I did sort of go off, and afterwards I found Milton, who organized the thing, and I said, dude, I apologize once more if I hijacked or if I went, if I took it too far. And he said, Mark, that's why we bring you to these things.
There you go, man.
We like the fact that you're a live grenade that we don't know when you're going to go off. It's awesome.
But that's honestly, Mark, that is the good thing. I mean, that's why I do podcasts, and I want the people on who speak their mind, and especially at that thing, and specifically it was about digital comics. I'm glad you are in that arena and voicing your opinions on that, because nobody has the answer. And I think it's fair to hear all sides, and I think you bring up a lot of points specifically in the digital realm that need to be addressed.
You're sure you want to get them started on the whole digital thing again?
I know.
I'll get hit digitally right now.
I know. I'll just say this one thing real quickly, just so we don't derail into my 35-minute diatribe on digital. But I will say that I don't think I had many answers either. But I think that the thing that is hurting the entire industry from going farther, faster on digital is the lack of transparency. Is the fact that no one's willing to talk about what realistic digital download numbers are.
Yep.
What real profit margins are. What the possibilities are. And I understand that. I understand that every company has a proprietary information, and it's perceived as suicide to share that with others. But dude, I think if nothing else, I think the fact that I'm able to come right out and just say, look, we can't, as smaller publishers and as individuals, we can't afford to publish 32-page comics anymore because the printing costs are so high that that becomes the single greatest expenditure, even above the creative end of it.
Yep.
And nobody's saying that. Nobody's coming out and making that point. And I think And I think the important thing about saying something like that to retailers is not as a challenge. It's to say to the retailers, to bridge that gap and say to the retailers, it's not that I don't want to give you comics and I want to go to digital instead. It's that I want to figure out a way that we can all win, that I can produce something on digital because it's cheaper to produce it there, and then in the long run give you something as a trade paperback that you can sell. But if you're asking me to work under the paradigm of a 32-page comic that goes to print first and doesn't go to digital, then I literally can't afford to produce anything, and then we both lose.
We make those comics anyway. And they never get published.
No, you're
That's
absolutely
how we
right.
were starting, yeah.
Well, what about you guys? Are the two of you guys like looking at any digital comics online? Are you experimenting with this at all? Are you reading any stuff online?
No, I haven't read anything online yet. Just I look at artwork on people's websites and blogs and stuff, but
is it just that you're not? Is it that your brain is hardwired into thinking that comics are paper and staples, or is it? Is it just that you haven't found anything that you like?
I like the feel of a comic book when I read it, but honestly, doing as much traveling as we do, one of my best friends is my iPad, I carry around I've read. I don't think I own one single issue of The Walking Dead, but I have 11 volumes of it in my iPad.
Yeah.
That I'm going through. Just when I happen to have that, But when I'm home, I'll just pick up a comic book because it feels good in my hands, and that's what I'm used to.
Yeah,
but I've done a little bit of the digital stuff, but not as much as I guess should be done. Or
as much as the industry wants us to. Yeah.
So how do you guys? Are you guys are you energized to go into that direction or okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I want to do everything. I want that. I want animation, movies.
Yeah.
But the number one question I have, though, I don't know if or we could keep talking digital, but the number one question that I want to know, because I know you're a fan, is what do you think of Henry as Superman on those pictures, if you see because I know that there's controversy about costumes and bracelets and no belts and
no belt and no trunks and
if Superman conversation we can have, we knew it would be with you. So.
Yeah, no, of course. Okay, it's again the other thing I will talk about until your ears bleed. Exactly. I've made my peace with the fact that I still have my Christopher Reeve movies to go back to whenever I feel like.
I got two of them anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. Two exactly. Yeah.
He's one of those guys that we were just talking.
Later, we're going to have to ask him the Superman 4 question, Artie. But go ahead, Mark.
I want to know about Henry.
It's I don't know. I wish I missed the spit curl. I really missed the spit curl.
That's so funny.
I said,
That's so funny. He did. Yeah, actually, he did say. Franco said that last night to me. We were talking about.
I showed my 5-year-old daughter. I just brought him up on the computer because of course you right click and save the photo, and I put it up and I said, "Hey, come here." She's like, "What?" I said, "Who is that?" She went, oh, "The real Superman? Did you meet the real Superman?"
Oh, that's great.
That's what she said about Henry. And because I don't know how to say the last Cavill.
I think Cavill.
So,
John?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't watch the Tudors, so I don't know either. Yeah.
And then she says, "That's the real," and I went, "All right, it worked." Because then then I went through all the pictures and I showed her the Wonder Woman, the new girl, Adriana, whatever.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman, and she went, "The real Wonder Woman too?" And I'm like, "All right." Then I showed her the Green Lantern, and she said, "Oh, that's the movie Green Lantern," because she saw the commercials.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, she gets it. So that guy she never saw before as Superman.
Interesting.
She saw it. But then I have, how people Photoshop all of the Supermans in one photo, and Christopher's in the middle, and you have all of them, and even Kirk Allen's in color, and even a Smallville guy.
Yeah.
I showed that picture to her, and she said to me, "Daddy, why are all those guys dressed like Superman?" And I'm like, "Well, what do you mean?" And then she pointed at Christopher Reeve. "That's the real Superman."
I love your daughter.
And then she says, "Why are they all dressed like him?" And I went, "Wow," because she don't know them. She knows that. She knows Christopher Reeve because we watched it here. But she
that's
knows
great.
With Henry because she saw that as the guy. Like maybe I snapped a photo of the real guy. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Did you maintain the illusion? You should have just completely fooled her. You should have just he's coming over for dinner, honey.
Yeah, I told her that I met him when I was in California. I saw him.
But and I'll introduce you, but only if you're good.
Yeah.
And you can punish her forever that way. You can make her childhood a living nightmare.
40-year-old Audrey. And my dad never introduced me to Superman.
Hey, why is Superman wearing glasses? Oh,
And that really works, guys, because, and I know I've said this before on the podcast, I met Clayton Moore when I was like 6 years old, and he was dressed up like the Lone Ranger. And as far as I'm concerned, it was meeting a real superhero. And I think that's why I still read comics, because that was just burned in my head that, my God, it's the real Lone Ranger. And he had that voice, and nice to meet you, friend. And I'm like, oh my God, it's him.
It's true.
So, yeah.
So are you a fan of the red undies or no red undies?
I'm a fan only in that I can't justify them on any aesthetic level, but that's just what he looks like to me. That's like taking Mickey Mouse's red underpants off and giving him like overalls or something. It's not. Yeah. I would always rather err on the side of the new rather than of nostalgia. I'm always suspect when I'm attached to things like the red trunk, because I don't want to be the guy who's just the old man waving his cane in front of the house going, I remember when he had trunk. I remember when he only had sandals and not boots. I don't want to be that guy. But
get off my grass. I mean trunks. I mean red underwear.
No.
Underwear.
But,
I understand.
But honestly, you know what? The lack of the spit curl actually bugs me more than the lack of the pants.
Yes.
That's crazy. I like it, though.
That's what bugs me about Lois and Clark. That
I know. That's the Dean Cain did the whole opposite. Yeah.
He had a spit curl when he was
for
Clark.
the record, he was a beautiful man. He really was.
I thought he was a great Superman and a great Clark Kent, frankly.
I think Henry's going to do a good job. That's I think.
I think so. I think it's in good hands. I cross my fingers. If it ends up not being a movie made for me, I can live with it. It wouldn't destroy me like certain things didn't have in the past. It wouldn't destroy me like, I don't know.
When the movie comes out, and you could go back and watch your Christopher Reeves.
Exactly.
Did you feel any kind of pressure, Mark, when you were doing, say, Birthright 10 years ago? And was it 10 years ago? Maybe it was less than that. I forget how long.
It's a little less, but not much longer. Yeah.
I mean, really, because it's interesting to hear that, because I would think, because you and I are kind of the same age, and we've gone through so many reboots through the years, and also both of us being fans of old stuff, the first thing I always tell people about, for instance, the reboot that's happening in the comics is, Jerry Siegel rewrote the Superman origin in 48 or 49. Yeah. I'm like, so even the original guys knew after a few years, hey, let's retell this and maybe add a little bit more or change it a little bit. So, I would think that, as it's funny to hear you say, as much as you enjoy the old stuff, that it was like, oh, you'll accept it for this new audience. For me, it's always like, I'm always interested to see what a new creator is going to do with the character. Hopefully good, but always interested in new ideas. So what was it like during Birthright for you?
The impulse was to make sure that you keep the integrity of what you saw as Superman, and make sure that shone through, that it's not about putting your ego ahead of the character. It's not about saying, well, this is my take on Superman. It's instead, no, let's look at the stuff that really worked. Let's look at the Siegel and Schusters. To go back, that's my cue to everything, is always go back to the first guy. And even though if he didn't have it right exactly, or even if it wasn't as refined as it ought to be, use that as your launch point. Use that as your starting. I don't care if you're doing Wonder Woman or Batman or Spider-Man or whatever. Use that as your launching point. And so it was. I mean, but there was no pressure with Birthright, because I love Superman like I love, more than I love certain members of my own family.
He could be like Uncle.
I do, exactly.
Let me ask you. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to ask you, because you've been around the block, so to speak, a time or two with Marvel and DC and pretty much everybody in the business. Is there any one character that's ever intimidated you?
Yes, at both companies, and it's the same reason. And it's that Wonder Woman intimidated me at DC always. I felt like I never could figure out Wonder Woman to save my life. And over at Marvel, likewise, it was Thor. I hate writing Thor.
Wow.
Really? I hate it with a white-hot passion, because I don't. It's not that I don't like the character. It's just that there is nothing I can plug into there whatsoever.
He's bigger than life itself.
And you know what both of it is? With both of them, they have mythological origins.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
and I'm a science kid. I was the kid who was weaned on Julie Schwartz comics, and I was the physics major in college, and I was the science guy, and I never really, I appreciate mythology, but I don't have any real passion for it. And so both those characters just elude me like crazy. Thor, I finally figured out years later, and I've never written him since, but I kind of get what Thor is about. I mean, you can boil these characters down to one sentence. Like X-Men is, hated and feared in a world that, they whatever. Spider-Man, great power, great responsibility. You know what Thor is about? When you break everything about Thor down, when you take everything else about Thor, all the trappings and stuff, you know what that story is really about?
It's about,
yeah, it's about more so than that. It's about a guy who cannot please his dad no matter what he does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think that is what makes Thor one of those characters that endures when so many other characters didn't. The ones that endure are always the ones that have a truth to them that we can all latch on to, especially as kids. The ones that are the things that feel familiar.
Yeah.
Hulk, Thor, X-Men, Batman, all those. Because everybody knows, Batman is all about standing up to bullies and standing up to the people who threaten your family, and everybody responds to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really interesting, Mark, because I wonder if that's why, as a reader, and not to get too psychological, but having a great relationship with my father and feeling like he always was in my corner, maybe that's why, as much as I appreciate Thor and love good Thor stories, he's one of the first heroes that if I'm not liking the writing, I immediately drop him.
That's entirely possible. I think that there's something to that. What about you guys? Like if you opened up the stable at, say, DC, for instance, like the two of you guys, and they said, pick anybody, who was the last guy you would think of?
Oh, the last guy. I thought you were going to say first guy.
That's easy. That's an easy question.
Yeah.
Although we'll take that one too. It's your time.
Superman's my first choice.
Well, I was going to say, let me go first, because then Art will take us afterwards. But because I've had this conversation with Art, and I said to him, when we first started at DC, I said, if we ever get to write anybody else, I said, I think the last guy I would ever want to write is Superman.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I said. And Art's like, and my reasons were, I don't know, he's just too big, mythologically just too big for me, and he can do everything. He's just really smart. For me, I just can't wrap my head around it. And then I have this conversation with Art, and he tells me the story that he's got brewing in his head. And then all of a sudden the ideas just start flowing for me too. And by the end of the conversation, I'm like, yeah, I changed my answer.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's great.
we rewrote Superman 3, 4, and 5 in that night, like movies.
Yeah.
And I was telling him stuff, and he says, "Okay, don't tell anybody what
Right.
you just told me tonight."
Yeah.
I said, "We'll have our time. We just have to wait." So
And you will. You guys will have your time. That's just it. Like, what's at the core of it? What is Superman about to you? Like, what is it that appeals to you at core about that character?
Superman he feels the pressure of having to be everywhere at once.
Yeah.
And he spreads himself out too thin. And when he fails, it's an epic failure.
Yeah.
When something happens to him that he can't control, it's something so simple, like he missed garbage day, or
Yes.
something like that. Damn, I overlooked it, So like the movie did it perfect when he forgot about Lois and she got killed.
Yeah, you're right.
There
It's
you
not
go.
like, and you're right. It's not like it has to be for Superman. It's not like it has to be something like, oh crap, I forgot about that guy stumbling into the volcano. It can be something
Yes.
as simple as, I forgot this one little promise I was going to, or this one little thing that
Yeah,
really
even
has no consequence. But to him, it would
Yeah.
be, yeah,
And Smallville did that too when it started, when he was learning that he was an alien and everything.
yeah,
Because I remember I saw the shows one at a, like I didn't watch them all in a row. Kind of like I read comics. Whatever's closer, I'll read it. So when with the shows, I would watch them on marathon days and catch like 3 episodes in a row.
yeah.
But I remember him struggling with being the person he was supposed to be, but he wanted to be a normal guy.
Yeah.
So that I thought, I said, yeah, that's it. That's what Superman is, because he feels all this pressure of being a special, but he went to high school with all the other kids,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
I like what Zod and Ursa say to each other in Superman 2 when he says, "I figured out this Superman," and all they say is he cares. And that's, and Rucka once when we were talking said a very good thing too, and that is, you can't shoot a gun and hurt Superman, but you can break his heart.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of connection that I always think those are the guys who get it.
That whole conversation that I had with Art, I said the last guy I would ever want to write is Superman, but I mean deep down I understand him, I get him, I know him, and you want to aspire to what he can do and what he is, in essence his being. Not, all the superpowers and everything, but, in that conversation, Art just, clearly identified what it is to be a good human being. And by the end of that, I was like, yeah, I do actually want to write Superman now.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, the real struggle of writing Superman is always the fact that he has to find a balance between being there for everybody all the time and being there for himself and giving his own, being selfish enough to give himself some time where there's not a selfish bone in Superman's body. So I think that's the constant struggle of that character. He has to find some way to justify putting on the glasses and putting on the suit and going to work, knowing that somewhere in the world somebody's fallen off a bridge.
Yeah, he also has to please his dad, much like Thor has. He has to please Jor-El. Same thing.
Yeah.
And Jonathan, for that matter, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got twice the pressure.
That's right. He's got two dads. They don't even know each other.
Yeah, the genius of that show, the genius of Smallville, was not only making Jor-El a father who, had expectations, but also making the Kents young, making the Kents.
Yeah.
Because until then, and you're probably like me, until you saw those people as the Kents for the first time, you just automatically defaulted to thinking of the Kents as your grandparents.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, that's
Always.
Ford. Yeah.
Except for when the alien had was it the treasure chest that made them young? I forget, Mark.
No, the bottle, the youth serum. Yeah.
You're right. The treasure chest made them die, unfortunately.
Yeah.
There you go. I knew I'd be talking to the right guy. Go ahead, please.
But yeah, so you never, to us growing up, reading Superboy stories and stuff, the Kents were always, 102 years old, and they were lovely people, but making the Kents young in that show suddenly gave that relationship a vitality that it never had before.
Yeah, he could play ball with his dad if you want to play catch.
Yeah, or his dad could have real emotions other than, because the Kents were also perfect in the comics. They were always old and wise and perfect. But see, this is also why now, where do you guys stand on, in a perfect world, if you were writing Superman, Kent's alive, one dead, both dead, where do you stand?
I like him. I like what the parents alive because it.
Okay, you're nuts, but we'll come back to that.
But I like. Wait, I'm going to say. But I liked when he got killed in the last run with Jeff Johns and Brainiac.
Broke my heart.
That was cool. That part I liked. But I like him alive up until then because it makes sense for him to be dead because then Superman has to be the man now.
Yeah.
And he has to, he can no longer be the kid, the son. He has to support the mom. So I like both versions. I like the TV show, but then I liked when he got killed by Brainiac. So I guess I like him dead. I don't know.
I tend to like them both dead. No offense to them, but I just think that there's something about Superman. As long as he can always fly home and have rhubarb pie with Ma and talk about his problems, which he did every issue for 5 years. Go home and have pie. That's all Ma. That's, by the way, she can't cook anything else. That's all she can do is pie.
That's right.
Why is Superman not fat?
I know. Pie. Have another plate of pie.
Well, flying burns calories too.
Apparently so.
You can always fly around the world and lose weight,
But this may just be me, but there's something about the fact that he always has that to fall back onto that takes away sort of the fact that he's a grown up, that he's his own man, and that he has this weight on his shoulders that he has because even though he's got Batman and even though he's got the Justice League and stuff, there's a certain solitude to being Superman that I think is essential to the character because that's one of the things that makes him a partly tragic character.
Absolutely
true.
Is that there's nobody he can. Is that at the end of the day, there's only one of him, and there's nobody else he can turn to. And so, and again, with all due respect to the guys who did Superman in the 80s and 90s, it's like, that would just drive me nuts. He could always go home and talk to Mom and Pa can't have pie.
That's true. Because I wouldn't like to read them when I was reading. I wouldn't like when he went to the...
No.
It's kind of like when you watch the Brady Bunch and their grandparents show up, and you know that episode's going to be wasted.
Yeah, exactly. And then he always like, what do I do about the Toy Man, Pa? Shut up. You're Superman. Figure it out.
Right.
Well, and the one thing that I think Superman Returns got right was the idea of solitude, and that he wasn't part of, he came back after being gone for 5 years.
Yeah.
He was having trouble fitting in. And it's just that scene that we've seen time and time again in comics of him in space, just kind of meditating. And then really, when he came alive, was hearing all the problems of the world and suddenly like burst into action. That he really does need, no one does understand his life.
I totally think, and again, I apologize that John and I have monopolized the conversation, but
no, you're good.
All right, you're good.
I genuinely believe with all my heart that the quintessential Superman moment is his aloneness.
Yes.
That it is a key component of that character, because I don't think you can have any really good hero without an element of tragedy to his upbringing. Otherwise, he's got a perfect life and everything is swell for him. And that's the complaint you hear about Superman from fans and people who don't really know much about Superman is, he's too good, he's too perfect, his life is great, he can do anything. Well, yeah, that's all true. So what do you do to balance the scales? And one of the things you do to balance the scales is you accentuate the fact that for all of those gifts and for all those great things he can do, he's alone.
Yep.
You know what that's like is like when you hear now when kids join a baseball team and everybody gets to bat and nobody's out, and no kid ever loses.
And everybody gets a trophy.
And they all get a trophy at the end, yeah.
And that's the kind of thing, like, and then you got homeschooling and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where my parent, when I was going to first send my kids to school, my parents were asking me, what are you going to do? Where they going? And I said, they're going public school. And then right away you get the controversy, but why? This and that. Private schools are better and all this. I said, nope, because my kid has to strike out in baseball, and he has to fall in the playground, and he has to have kids laugh at him. And they're like, why? And I'm like, because he'll be stronger. He'll be a better kid. And he has to be shy around girls, and he has to get in fights with the boys. And then my parents are like, my mom's like, oh my God, how can you? And my dad's sitting there like, yeah, that's that's what has to happen. I said,
that's great. And then your mom made pie.
Yeah. And then
pie.
Yeah.
But no, that's it. But you're absolutely right. I mean, Franco, I don't even know if you have kids, Franco. Do you?
I do. I have one boy.
And how old?
He's 12.
Oh, that's cool. So, you should bring him to a convention sometime instead of hiding him in the basement all the time. But
he comes with me. He was at that convention where we got into it in North Carolina.
This is probably the part where you tell me that you've introduced me to him 6 times and I've forgotten, and I get to be.
No, you've never met him. No.
Thank God. Okay. I mean, not that. No. I mean, I want to, but I'm just thank God I haven't and haven't forgotten. Okay, good.
Probably real angry then.
Is that real? Is that really? Is that the when you're playing like password and you're trying to, and the password is Mark Waid? Is that the first one? Angry? Is that
angry? Yeah.
Don't get him mad.
That's amazing. I find that amazing because I just don't see it myself at all. But I just think that's really funny. So
I'm thinking, ever since you asked us who would be the hardest character to write, or the one we least want to write.
Yeah.
I've been thinking since you said that, and I'm leaning towards Firestorm right now.
Interesting.
Oh, I'm with you there.
Yeah, because I don't know who that guy. I don't get him.
I
know every time I read him, I'm so confused.
And for me too. And I think you guys will get this too. Like I think it's true for everybody who's in comics. Like there's a certain point at which all of the like for me it's 1978 because I was like 16 years old and I was starting to be a grown up and stuff, and so every character created after 1978 feels like the new guy to me.
Yeah,
sure.
And everybody who I read as a kid feels like somebody I'm connected to, and it's not a reflection on the characters. It's just everybody has their sort of arbitrary cutoff date of that's those aren't the guys I grew up with. So and Firestorm falls in that category of me of. That's not one of the guys I grew up with, so I wouldn't know what to do with that guy.
Yeah, I'd have to figure it out somehow.
Isn't it interesting, too, that since they've brought back Hal Jordan and Barry Allen, that was the reaction to the people that grew up on the legacy characters of Wally West and Kyle Rayner and Connor Hawke. And they're like, who cares? These are old guys. I don't care about them. They're not my guys.
Right. In the case of Barry Allen, they're right. So,
yeah.
Blasphemy.
But
I love Wally, and I love what you did with him, too, bud. So it's all right.
Yeah, where is Wally anyway?
Nobody knows.
I apparently I got him chained into my basement. I don't know. It's like he's got to be safe somewhere. You know what? He's Anne Frank. He's in my attic. He's hiding out. I have him safe hiding in my attic. That's where he is.
You should put him in your Daredevil comic.
Perfect.
You know?
Look, I already am. He's a red-headed guy wearing a red costume.
Hey, yeah, honestly, man, and not just because you're on. Great job on Daredevil, and I'm sure we'll talk about it more on a word balloon. But really, it's been a lot of fun, and I heard Dan Buckley ask the question a few years ago: can't Daredevil ever smile anymore? Can we see him have one good day? And you're doing it right now, and without even letting go of what makes him such a great street-level crime character as well. I think you're showing we can have it both ways, and it can be successful. So you and Pablo are doing a great job, man.
Thanks. Thank you. You can totally have it both ways. This is one of my gripes about modern comics. Since you asked me to start this an hour ago and be angry, now that you got it took me this while to get angry, but...
He's angry now.
Go, Mark.
We're breaking a record with this show.
It should be Angry Mark Waid tweets.
We're going for late.
That could be our title, Don't Make Mark Waid Angry.
I know. Well, one of my big gripes about superhero comics in the 21st century is that I'm here to tell you, not every single superhero has to have Batman's origin. Not every single superhero has to have retrofitted into their backstory the death of a mother or a loved one or a brother or sister or niece or nephew or whatever. Every one of them, it's like it's been retrofitted onto these guys in the last few years to the point where they're all indistinguishable. And that doesn't bother me from a nostalgic point of view. I'm not saying, oh, you changed that guy's origin and it's not the same as when I was a kid, so I'm mad. I'm looking at it more like, geez, I kind of find that to be an insult to policemen and firefighters and EMT guys, and because that's like saying, and soldiers, it's like saying that no one can be a hero unless they are driven by personal tragedy, which I think is crap. I think that's an insult. I think absolutely people can do. It doesn't. Yes, people need motives. Superheroes especially need motives to do what they do, and they need good reasons to be altruistic and put on suits and do this stuff. But it doesn't have to be the same reason. Are you guys noticing that same sort of tendency or no?
Yes.
Yeah, it was a 90s thing, and I think it slightly softened up, but no, it's still there. It was still there.
Oh, I think it's way more a 21st century thing. I think it's really way more a last few years sort of thing. And
I think you're asking the wrong guys about grim and gritty comics.
Yeah,
that's true.
This is the happy smiley tea time. That's true.
I think we only have one angry character. I think it's just Slade in our book. But
that's just a Slade. That's it.
Yeah,
well, I actually think Beppo's holding a grudge. That's right. But you're not saying it. So.
He's always smiling. You got to worry about the guy who just smiles all the time.
Like you.
Yeah, but
I wonder if you could get inspired to be a superhero from listening to a podcast.
That would be a great origin.
Libsyn man.
No, but we can do the grim and gritty, and we can do the dark stories as well, and right. We've written stuff like that. But I truly believe that. Going back to what you were talking about before about which character you wouldn't take, and you mentioned Firestorm. I think on a given day, any of the three of us, individually or together or whatever, if we're writing Firestorm, we would do a pretty good job. I think the only difference between that and one of the other characters that you would like is it would take you longer to get to that story, but I have complete faith that you'd be able to do it. I know Artie and I would be able to do it.
Yeah,
I'm sure you guys would. But there's a difference between writing, and I know this from 20 years of experience. God, everything that all of us say makes me sound like I'm 102 years old.
Don't
Jesus.
worry, man.
Cut them open and count the rings, ladies and gentlemen.
Awesome.
But with all the experience I have, I'm here to tell you that there's an X factor to writing a character that you love, and the difference between writing a character that you love and a character that you learn to love. And
absolutely.
It's a tiny little difference. When I was editing comics at DC, one of my jobs was to edit Roy Thomas's, or not edit, but like associate edit Roy Thomas's books in the twilight of those, like Infinity Incorporated and All Star Squadron and that kind of stuff.
Oh wow!
Or Young All Stars or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And my job really was just a paper pusher. Mine was just basically to arrange. He was creatively in charge, and I didn't tell Roy what to do. It was his books.
Sure.
And through no fault of Roy's, I think at that point in those books, late in the late 80s, when all of the really hot artists were attracted to doing other properties, and it's not a fault of Roy's. I think that those books sort of fell prey toward artists who maybe weren't completely ready for the big leagues yet sometimes, and they were a very specialized taste. Like if you didn't like World War II, you're not going to like these books. If you don't like the legacy characters, you're not going to love these books. They appeal to a very narrow demographic. And I remember once I asked Dick Giordano, who was the editor-in-chief at the time, I said, what is it about these books that I would read them because I like these books, but I understand they don't appeal to a lot of people. What is it? And sometimes they're not drawn very well, and sometimes they're written sort of in an antiquated way. What is it I like about these books? And Dick didn't miss a beat. He looked at me and said, because Roy would write them for free, and you can tell.
Yep.
And he's absolutely right. And it's like I think that one of the great energies that comes out of Tiny Titans is that I pick up that book every month, and it's so clear you guys would write that for free.
Yeah.
You love that stuff.
Don't tell anybody.
I know, don't tell anybody. But you know what I'm saying? It's like you can't fake that. You cannot fake that. It's not the same as being, if you handed me Hulk tomorrow to write, I would find something to love about Hulk. I would find my way into that character, but it's not the same as, oh my God, I've wanted to write Hulk ever since I was 5.
Right.
I am the Hulk. Yeah.
That's Artie's lyrics to the sad Walking Away Bill Bixby music.
Oh, give it to me again.
The Hulk. I am the Hulk. Yeah. The Hulk. I am the Hulk. Yeah.
Oh.
We all cry a little bit when we hear it.
Yeah.
I'll never be able to hear it any other way.
And here's the finish. I am the Hulk.
Oh, God. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Exactly.
Listen, be sure to turn in next week. Oh, my God.
Is Matt Murdock a character like that for you? I mean, are you really, how would you assess this, or did you have to get to him?
I had to get to him a little bit. I like happy-go-lucky Matt Murdock, but there wasn't a market for him, so I had to find a way to graft that onto what's already there, and all of that. John, you're a big fan of Marty Pasco. I know you are.
I am.
You talk to him like every damn week.
Every damn night. Yeah.
It was actually a 4-hour conversation.
It's Marty Pasco's Word Balloon featuring Brian Bendis.
I heard all those shows.
I know, and that's great because I love Marty too. I love Marty too, but he was a huge influence on me. But he wrote this. You remember when Marvel was doing their pocket novels? They were in the mid and late 70s. They were doing these prose novels of their characters, and one of the ones they did was a 4-story anthology with an Avenger story and a Daredevil story and an X-Men story. And,
I have that one here somewhere.
Yeah, Well, read the Daredevil story again, because the Daredevil story, which is written by a Kyle Christopher, which was Marty's pseudonym at the time for whatever reason.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's really it's a good story, but that's not the point. The point is, it's the first story I'd ever read about Daredevil that was from Daredevil's point of view. Like, what is it like to wake up in the morning? What's it like to get in the shower? What's it like to have breakfast if you have those enhanced senses? What's it like to walk out on the Manhattan streets and be Daredevil and have those, be blind but have your radar sense? And that made such an impression on me that that's, as much as anything, what I brought then into the book when I took it over a few months ago.
That's really cool. That's great, man. And because like you said, some of these guys have tragedy grafted on them, but really in the case of Daredevil, that really is there from that first Bill Everett Stanley story.
Yeah, but he's walking proof that you can have a wide spectrum of emotions to your character, and they don't all have to be. Pyre and I, again, to invoke Pyre and I talk about this all the time. It's the rubber ducky theory. It's the idea that every single thing about your character and everything about the way he views the world can be traced back to the rubber ducky he had as a kid. Like the one thing. Like there's the one thing he's... And I reject this notion. I reject this notion that... Because people are more complex than that. I think it's true that you find inciting incidents as a kid, like the death of Batman's parents or the death of Madeline Jack Murdoch or whatever. You find the inside. There are certain things that will always have an impact on those characters and help define them. But I kind of reject the fact that it's only that everything about their personality and everything about their world always comes back to the one rubber ducky, because people aren't like that. No one. You
go through 1 year like 1993, and that's what makes you a man.
Yeah, that's Artie's rubber ducky year. Absolutely.
Now,
details.
My wife cooks this cheese that when she takes out the cheese out of the fridge.
I cannot wait to hear where this is going. Please go.
My kids scatter because they're like, "Oh no, it's the stinky cheese." So
Yeah.
She slices it up and puts it in a pan and fries it up, and it fries where it almost looks like when it's done, it looks like a cracker.
All right.
So it's like, and it's supposed to be low carb, no fat, and all that stuff, real healthy for you. But when it cooks, you got to open the windows and put on the fan, because the aroma for this thing, it takes over. And then if I'm gonna go to say I'm gonna go to the comic shop, and she'll say, I'll bring the kids with you and stop at McDonald's too. Like, why? She goes, because I'm going to cook the stinky cheese. So today she cooked it. Kids are at school, but, I'm home still. So she cooked it, and I had to that's one way. If you're procrastinating trying to get to work, she puts the sticky cheese on, and it engulfs the house, where I grabbed the coffee, and I didn't even add cream. I just went downstairs. So I made it safe. So imagine if my senses were heightened in that story you were telling me about Daredevil. Now, how long could he last with the stinky cheese?
You'd be living 2 houses down and still smell the stinky cheese.
I want to take a moment and commend you, because that was the most brilliant pull out of a tailspin I have ever heard in my entire life. I thought for sure this is what Stan Lee sounds like to you. This is what... You're just talking about what the hell is he talking about? And then at the last possible second, with true showmanship, you pull it out and you bring it back, and I am in awe.
Mark, let me tell you, we've done over 30 of these things now at this point, and invariably at every single one of them, there's been a moment when Art starts talking, and John and I are thinking, oh boy, where's this thing going? And every time he just pulls it out in the end, so that's why we keep going.
We trust, we trust.
And I've listened to the podcast, and what's amazing about this is that every time you give him a little more rope. Every time you let him go just a little further out on the limb, because the fascinating thing is you know at some point it's gonna break. But you don't know when. You don't know when in the pod. You don't know what podcast it's going to be where he suddenly can't find his way back.
And that's cool. I'm guessing around issue number 48 or somewhere around there.
Yeah. So he's suddenly going to be like wandering around the desert. Yeah.
We're going to go to issue 52 and then relaunch.
Oh man,
we'll probably do that. But I was saying that when you were talking about the characters and making them your own and trying to find out what you like. If you're working on a Marvel character, I've found out just by reading SpiderMan all these years, all you really need to do is bring in Mephisto.
That's it. There it all goes away. All
they're good. I want Firestorm to be one guy with no powers.
Cool.
I want her to be a girl. And Firestorm means that he can't light a fire when it's raining out.
Now, my question is, when does the mysterious hooded woman from 52 show up in Tiny Titans?
We were just talking about on this podcast, sir.
Yes. You got to listen to the first part before you come on.
Yeah, we talked about the kids too, telling you how much they hate new movies. So and I told them to stick to the old ones. That's why I reference it. You could always watch your Christopher Reeves.
Yes.
Watching the new ones. But,
this all came up right before we were talking to you. So you stayed in the theme of the show without even realizing it.
I'm thinking about putting a hooded lady in the new issue. Because the next issue is with the Protector with Tiny Titans. I have to draw that one. Because the Protector replaces Robin.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
In the finest drug awareness tradition, yes.
Yes, we're bringing him in there. So we're, I think the girl with the pink hood's going to be in her too. But I'm not sure who she is, so we're gonna give it away. We're gonna make it up in this book. So you'll find out who she is in our issue.
We're dancing around the issue. We have the foremost expert on Superman here with us.
Yeah, we do.
And we're not asking him the important question, Art. You have to ask him.
What's it?
Superman 3 or 4?
Oh, yeah. Okay, here it is. I know that this is a topic we do on this podcast, and it's shown up on numerous shows. We already asked Chris Robertson, who's a Superman writer, and we argued back and forth a little bit, but we're asking you. We know that Superman 3 and 4, both movies aren't that good.
That's an understatement.
Indeed.
All right, so they're awful, terrible. But which one do you think is better? And should I tell him what I think, or let him?
Let him answer first.
Yeah, let him answer first.
Which one's better? What do you think is better, Superman 3 or Superman 4?
And your reasons why?
I, when pressed, and this is the unexpected answer, I think I would have to say that for all of its gargantuan flaws, Superman 4 is actually a marginally better Superman movie.
Yes.
There you go. See?
Oh, that's so awesome.
Thank you.
Well played, sir.
Let me refine the answer. I think that Superman 3 is a better movie, but I think Superman 4 is a better Superman movie.
Yes.
Oh,
Very consistent.
Right.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And again, not much of a cockroach race because they are both cockroaches.
Oh, dear God.
But I would, and that is the argument that Artie has made that, yes, Superman 4 is a better Superman story.
Yeah, it's a movie that was taken from those old 60s Superman comics.
Oh, yeah.
And they tried real hard to make it a good movie. But Superman 3, I don't know where that comes from.
No way. It just comes from. I mean, I liked it well enough when I first saw it because any Superman movie is a good Superman movie to me. But looking back, it's certainly the one I've seen the least often.
Yeah.
And it is certainly the one that goes on forever. That movie is 9 hours long. I swear.
Yeah.
Superman 3.
Superman 3, Superman 3 is 9 hours long because it's 5 hours of Richard Pryor in a big foam cowboy hat.
Yep.
So,
and that's what Artie said. It's like it's a Richard Pryor movie with a little Superman sprinkled in.
yeah.
I always argue that, people always complain about number 4 with Lex Luthor's grandson, whoever that is.
Yeah, nephew Lenny. Yeah.
Yeah, I said, okay, the difference between 3 and 4 is you could forget that Lex Luthor's nephew's in the movie.
Yeah.
He's a second thought. But there's no way in all of creation of baby Jesus' world that you're going to forget that Richard Pryor was in Superman 3.
No, there is no edit that will take Richard Pryor out of that movie and give you anything. No.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
But I do like the Smallville scenes. I'll say it, and you guys can dance on my grave.
All the Lana Lang stuff is sweet,
I think so.
Oh, yeah.
And the junkyard drunk Superman versus Clark Kent fight, I love it. I
Those
do.
are the only 2 moments in the movie.
Yes, and they are the only 2 things in the movie that I like. But
No, there's one more thing, and it's a split-second thing, but it's Superman's hearing. Clark Kent is in the field having a picnic with Lana, and he hears Little Ricky. By the way, like the Lucille Ball show, Little Ricky.
Babalu.
Yeah, I hears Little Ricky with a super hearing, and if you watch that closely, and it took me a time or two, you can actually see like a special effect there. You can see like compressed sound waves, like sort of warbling towards his ear.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'll look for that.
Look for that because it's a subtle little thing, but I thought, all right, that's kind of cool. That's a very comic booky thing of that sort of expanding semicircles radiating from his ear to indicate super hearing.
I can't ever watch that movie again because I markered up my Superman 3 because it comes on a 2-sided Superman 3, Superman 4 DVD.
Yeah.
And I put X's on it.
Even if you're drunk at 3 o'clock in the morning and you suddenly this saves you.
Yeah, I said I cannot because Target had. Shout out to Target.
Hey.
They had the movies for $10. You could buy all 4 of them.
Yeah.
So now I have like 5 versions of the first movie, which is good. It's awesome. Yeah. I watch them all. I got like 3 versions of number 2. That's cool. I watch them all. I got I got like just the one version of Superman 3 and 4, and I bought that because I never saw Superman 4 in English.
Really?
So I recently saw, and it was the beginning of this. It had to be within a year because I watched it and we talked about it on podcast.
True.
Probably last year, I had a Superman marathon week where I just drew and watched Superman every day, everything, even the making of them and the Brandon Routh movie. And when I got to Superman 3, I watched it and I told myself I'm never going to watch that movie for the rest of my life. And I watched Superman 4 and I'm like, wow, I was digging it. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And so that after I watched it, I showed my kids and they were watching it. They're like, oh, this is the new Superman movie. I'm like, yeah, okay. This is the one that we don't watch, but they get it. There's parts in the movie that are for kids that's supposed they're on the moon fighting and then the guy's car floods and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We're digging it.
That's the audience that movie was made for. As long as you accept the fact that it wasn't made for you, then you roll with it. To this day, and I am unapologetically sentimental about this, but when he stands up in front of the UN and gives his speech, I know that speech by heart because I'm a grown man and I got chills when I heard that speech, and I know that in the real world, no one could give that speech, and I know it's not realistic. I don't care that it's not realistic. Guess what? He's from another planet. And he flies. You know.
Do you get all happy like Family Guy Peter Griffin when they mentioned Superman 4: The Quest for Peace in the movie?
Yeah. My experience with that movie, though, and this is a true story, is that I went in on opening day. I was going to move to New York City that day. I was living in Los Angeles. I was moving to New York City that day to take a job at D.C. It's a Friday afternoon, and I had to leave right after the theater. Like I had to start work Monday morning, so I had to drive cross country. But I'm not going to leave L.A. until I see the premiere of Superman 4. I've been waiting for this for months.
Yeah.
And I'm like the only guy standing in. I get there like an hour early. I'm standing in a line of one to see the movie.
Your cape on? Were you wearing your cape?
I know. I was holding my little kryptonite, and I had my dog made up. No. My monkey with me. But I was there early enough where, and this is true, they cut the movie to 90 minutes so late in the game, so close to the release date, they cut it down from its running time of 1:30 to 90 minutes, that all throughout the lobby, before I went in, there were all these lobby cards from scenes that were never in the movie.
Yeah.
All the lobby cards with him versus Bizarro, all the lobby cards from all those scenes, and I've never been more confused than when I walked out of that theater going, I don't understand. Not only does my heart ache now, but and not only do I just but where's Bizarro?
Yeah. The first attempt to build a copy of Superman resulted in a different Nuclear Man, and it was basically a Bizarro.
I never saw that.
We need to start the lobby to get a director's cut of this film going.
Artie, you go on YouTube right after we get off the podcast. You can find the cut scenes.
Wow.
Really? I had no idea.
And they are world-class awful. They make Superman 3 look like Citizen Kane. They are world-class awful.
Well, I'll take awful any day over Richard Pryor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you will. But they are just. But the fight with Nuclear Man 1, who is basically, but he's not wearing a fake Superman costume. I mean, he's just wearing street clothes or whatever. But he's got the chalky face and the sort of Frankenstein gait, and he's fighting Superman, throwing cars at each other and stuff. You got to see this.
Oh wow! I never knew that.
As awful as it was, because they released this when they released the
Donner cut.
Yeah, like the 14-volume set, a couple 3 years ago at Christmas time, they put those scenes in as extras, and I didn't care how awful they were. It doesn't matter. Are you showing me new stuff with Superman with Christopher Reeve in a Superman costume? Then it's great. I don't care.
I'm with you.
Wow.
I like the pit-stained Superman in the audition.
Yeah.
I know. Have you guys seen the audition tapes and the screen test for?
Oh yeah.
Where he's got these, again, he's at least sweating like a Southern lawyer.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, I met the man and I freaked out, and it was just like...
You met Chris Reeve?
Yeah.
You met Christopher Reeve?
Sure.
Yeah, my parents, I I worked in my parents' restaurant. It was the family curse. I mean business. And and I was there for many years, and it was in Westchester County, very affluent area, and Christopher Reeve walks in and gets pizza for him and his kids, and I'm like, he's like, I'd like to order a large pie, and I'm like,
You said, yeah, you would.
I totally freaked out.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, yeah, you're Superman, and it was pretty cool, and I got his autograph and everything, and it was real cool, and so yeah, I geeked out big time.
That's awesome.
That would have been amazing. There was a brief period when we did this Kingdom Come audiobook, which was the best of intentions, but oh my God, that thing is not good.
I love it. I'm sorry, I do.
It is one step above a golden book, but it is not
did you
a great.
do the reading? Did the author do the reading?
No, it's fully dramatized, sir.
It was fully dramatized. That's the thing.
Wow.
So it was fully dramatized by guys who thought they were in the Batman TV show.
Oh. So do you do any voices on there?
I did one. I asked for one. I got one line, and I asked specifically for this line, and I got it. And it is the 5 most beautiful words in the English language, which are, "Look up in the sky."
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome,
yeah.
Mark. I didn't know that was you. That's fantastic, man.
Were you on Smallville too when they did all that, or Lois and Clark?
No, that was actually like Mike Carlin and those guys. They got in the background. They were, so audiobook. Where was I? So
Kingdom Come,
audiobook. So when they were casting, there was an afternoon where Christopher Reeve had tentatively agreed to do the Superman part.
Oh, wow!
And I was over the moon. I mean, I was just completely over the moon. And then, for whatever reason, like Warner Legal couldn't get the budget together or whatever, and the production house couldn't get the budget together. But that was a great afternoon. Just thinking, oh my God, Christopher Reeve's going to read Superman dialogue that I wrote. Oh my God!
Wow.
Listen, I sound like a 14-year-old girl talking about Justin Bieber, but you know what I'm talking
But dude,
about.
I got to tell
Hear
you,
ya.
the Planet Krypton scene again. I know what you mean. It's not. Unfortunately, this isn't the golden age of radio, and you can't have William Conrad and some of the other great Jack Webb and some of the great voices.
But
But
Google Jack Webb and Conrad.
Oh, I remember that guy. Cause
These guys are all over 60.
Yeah, it's true. But honestly, I loved the Planet Krypton scene, and there are a lot of scenes in. I like it better than a Golden Book. I can appreciate, Mark, you having written it. There must be agony to hear subpar acting. But for me, it really was a nerdgasm being able to hear that stuff come to life. Because
I think it's part of it. I think it's just that I wrote it, so I know all the line readings in my head. So I'm sorry, Franco, you were going to say something?
No. I was just making a joke, and I even forgot what it was.
Dude, even honestly, for me, even hearing somebody be Captain Comet for 5 seconds was a nerdgasm on that Kingdom Come audio. It really was.
But my memory is it was like, I am Captain Comet. It's my memory of it. I could be wrong, but it's just, oh my God.
No, and I mean, I know what you mean. It was deliberate acting, but I love it. I really do. I think, did you ever hear the Nightfall Batman?
Yeah.
I thought they did a slightly better job, and it was cool having Michael go.
Because they weren't acting. They were, these guys were actors who was working on my thing. So,
well, wasn't Nightfall and also the Superman Doomsday thing? Weren't those made for BBC Radio?
Yeah, they were made. Yeah, they were made by the British Broadcasting Company, and they were. Have you guys ever heard those?
No.
The Superman one, there's a couple of Superman ones. There's one that's a Death of Superman that basically is adapting the whole Death and Return of Superman on audio form. Actually, there's 3. They also do Man of Steel, and it's fully dramatized audio, and it's pretty good. But there's one that's a standalone that was done for Superman's 50th anniversary, and it's like Superman on Trial.
I never heard that one.
You can find it on Amazon.com. It's on CD now. So.
Awesome.
And it's got guest voices by. It's a weird blend of fiction and reality because it's a fictional story about Superman, and he's on trial for crimes against the galaxy, and Lex Luthor is like the prosecuting attorney or something. but witnesses for Superman are like Jeanette Kahn and Dave Gibbons, and like guys, and they're being themselves, and they're speaking of him. Like they're talking about the history of the character as character witnesses. They're basically giving you an education into the real-life history of Superman, but at the same time, it's all fiction. So it's a weird sort of blend of, I don't know. But you know what? It doesn't. I'm making it sound cheesy. It's actually really entertaining.
Ooh, I want to hear that. Because you know what unfortunately sucked was that, was it the 40th anniversary? No, it was the 50th anniversary of Superman. That thing that CBS made, that Franken and Davis were in, and Hal Holbrook.
Yep.
That is painful to watch, and it's one of those bonus features on the multi-disc Superman sets.
I know. But you know what they do in that's awesome? The one thing they do in that is awesome is they do a montage over the opening credits of the Superman TV show, Faster Than the Speeding Bullet, and they do a montage in there of every single visual Superman origin up to that time. Like they take scenes from the serials and from the TV show and from the movies and from the cartoons, and they string them all together to be like one origin sequence, and that was pretty cool.
Oh, that's okay. All right, fair enough. I like that.
I have to buy all that box set now.
You do, dude. You've got to get on that. It's on Blu-ray. It's on Amazon.com. Shout out to Amazon.com. Oh,
Hey.
Do they have Kingdom Come? Is that still available, Mark?
I hope not.
I understand. Hey,
I don't think it is. I could be wrong. I think it's on audio cassette for you older viewers out there. It's on something we call audio cassette.
That's right. How I had it. Hey, how about and while we're talking about other media attempts at doing Superman, I loved Last Son of Krypton, Elliot Maggins' story, and I figured Mark had read it. Guys, have you read that?
No.
I'm going to go with no.
No.
Because I think that's a really great
I know
book.
what it is, though, yeah.
I'm sending you guys a care package. This is ridiculous. You guys need to be educated, because Elliot's novels, Elliot's Superman, like Miracle Monday and Last Son of Krypton, these novels that he wrote in the 70s, they're my template for who Superman is. I mean, they're really great character studies of Luthor and Superman, and they're both kind of easy reads. They're not War and Peace, but at the same time, they have some real depth to them. All right, I'm going on the web as soon as I get off the phone. I'm sending you some stuff.
You're killing me. That's awesome. No, and I felt the same way, Mark. It was the first time, and I think I was like 12 or 14 when that book came out. And I really felt like I was reading an adult version of a Superman story. And like you say, the relationship between Luthor and Superman, and this is pre-Crisis, so this is the whole, they were friends when he was Superboy, and he's responsible for Luthor losing his hair, and it was just so wonderful to see a Luthor that truly knew his enemy because they were once friends, and knows what buttons to push because they were once friends, and that's what's missing from the post-Crisis Superman eras, where these guys, and I like it, I like the new take, that Luthor is afraid of him because he's an alien, and doesn't trust him because he's not really human and not really one of us.
You're afraid of me, Doctor.
Exactly, to pull palliatives. But I do miss that. And again, that's a great hopeful moment in your story in Kingdom Come, when he's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, Luthor sends his regards," and he's like, "Really? No."
Oh, yeah, that was your story. I didn't realize that right now. I'm thinking, wow, he read that too, and yeah, that was good. Oh, you're.
I'm listening to you guys, and I'm thinking, you guys are geeks.
Professional.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're the kind that don't have to leave the house because we've got things to do.
But we do have to wear pants. So
this is true.
Yeah.
At least the court order says I do. I don't know about you, but
optional red underwear these days, so it's up to you.
All right. Well, if that's not a perfect button to my participation in the podcast of
Mark Waid.
You exceeded expectations, sir. It was awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming. Is there anything that you'd like to plug while you're here? Daredevil, obviously.
While I'm here, Daredevil, Irredeemable and Incorruptible from Boom.
Here.
Yeah.
And if I may, the Potter's Field miniseries that I did with Paul Azaceta, that came out in trade paperback just this week, and it's at your local comic store or through Amazon.com. And I'm very fond of that. So
great crime story, absolutely, man. God, I think unfortunately one of the last times we talked, it was just coming out.
Yeah. So man, it has been a while. So.
I know. Forgive me. I'm sorry, Mark. It's never with bad intentions. I am.
Well, you know what it is. You got to have Marty Pasco on. That's what it is.
Clearly, I have to make room for Marty. That's
got to make room for Marty. No, I love Marty. He's a great guy, but I always know where he is, and I know that he's safe because I can tune into your podcast every week, and there he is.
Dude, that is so flattering that you're actually listening. Honestly, I really appreciate that. Yeah. So it's that makes me feel better that I can read your books and you can listen to my nonsense. So thank you.
That's awesome.
All right, so gentlemen, I'll sign off now, and then, you guys can, then spend 5 minutes trash talking me when I'm off the phone. But I will be listening.
No worries, man. No, you're the man.
You can find him at Mark Waid, on Twitter and website, as well.
MarkWaid.com actually has a bunch of it hasn't been updated for a while, but there's a lot of tips in there for if you want to get into comics, if you want to break in, if you want to talk about story structure. There's a whole bunch of posts along those lines about sort of Comics 101.
Ooh, I'm gonna go read that now.
God, I'm everywhere. Jeez. So,
Artie, do you want to ask him one more thing?
I got one more question for you.
hit me.
Do you like pink?
I like pink very much, Artie.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Are you coming to New York?
Well, actually, no, because I have to spend the next month in the shower with steel wool after that. So, sadly, I will not be in New York this year. But I give my regards to Broadway, and I hope you guys do well there. And all three of you guys are going to be there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
we're going to have a kids panel. We're going to be drawn on stage with the kids again.
Now, let me ask you. Before we go, let me just ask you now: does security give you a hard time about taking your Harvey through as a carry-on wherever you go?
Well, the airport, yeah, you gotta go through the woo-woo thing. But after that, they just said, "What's all this metal? That's my hardware, man." So
Because I know you take your Harveys and your Izers like everywhere you go, and you wear them on. As you're saying, so make sure that.
car seats.
Yeah, he's like Mr. T. They wear them on their necks.
We do have photographic evidence of you trying to steal.
That's lies. All lies. That's all totally lies. That's totally bogus.
That photographer sent me the link, and he didn't know what box you were trying to steal. And when I told him, I said that was a great photo of Mark Waid trying to steal the Harveys. He says, "Was that what was in that box?" So he goes, "They're even funnier now."
That was a human heart. So anyway.
Awesome.
Well,
thank you so much, Mark.
Yeah, and Mark, honestly, not to ingratiate or to impose on your goodwill, but I hope that we will have a brain surgery-like conversation on Word Balloon, and we can split the atom. And I
would love to. Let's do that before the end of the year. I'll be absolutely glad to set that up with you. So
you're a good man.
All right, gentlemen, go off and drink. I got to go to Amazon and send you guys a Goodwill package. So
Awesome, sir.
I'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks, Mark.
No, my pleasure. Thank you guys. You guys are great.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Over and out.
Oh yeah, podcast.
That was
Mark
awesome.
Waid.
Mark Waid, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
I appreciate Johnny hating me and cutting me out of the first part of that conversation, too.
What did I do? Oh, no, it was 2 seconds. It was 2 seconds.
I'm only busting your chops, man.
Oh, I felt so bad. I did. I'm like, oh, my God, Franco's not there. We lost Franco. That's Mark Waid, and that's a Throwback Thursday from Word Balloon. Every now and then, I want to reach back and represent some stuff, and I have a feeling that during this cold and lonely San Diego week, I might be filling some time with another great rerun. But don't worry, there's lots of great new Word Balloon content coming as well. I promise you, it's going to be a great July. I can't believe how some of these things have fallen into place. Very interesting month. Was not expecting it, but a lot of big stars coming up right here on Word Balloon. Not to mention Jerry Ordway, who's coming on Friday, a little bit later on. So look for your feed to get another Word Balloon podcast as well. And, there you go for the weekend. We got at least almost 4 hours of Word Balloon content for you to tide you over until next week. And then next week, brand new conversations waiting for you right here at wordballoon.com. Again, brought to you by the League of Word Balloon listeners. Thank you, League, for your support via Patreon. Word Balloon is free. It'll always be free. But if you want to help support the cause, go to patreon.com/wordballoon. Is Word Balloon worth $1 a month to you? Is it worth the price of a comic book a month to you? I try to give you that kind of entertainment every week. And honestly, I appreciate your support. So if you want to subscribe to Word Balloon, it's at wordballoon.com and click on the Patreon ad right there on the front page, or go to patreon.com/wordballoon. And Word Balloon is brought to you by Aftershock Comics, with great books that have delighted us for years. Things like Marguerite Bennett's Animosity and Garth Ennis's Walk Through Hell, Dark Arc, a great thing from Cullen Bunn, Baby Teeth from Donny Cates. All great stuff. And now alongside of it on the Aftershock shelf, you've got things like Cullen Bunn's Knight's Temporal, Chris Sabella's Trustfall, Dark Red from my buddy Tim Seeley, The Stronghold from Phil Hester, and Matthew Klickstein's You Are Obsolete coming soon, just to name a few great Aftershock books on the way. Now, in the weeks ahead, we will talk to more Aftershock creators about their books, but you don't have to wait. Go to their website and find full story descriptions, preview pages, and the diamond codes on these books to order through your local shop at AftershockComics.com.
Thanks again for listening. Again, I got Jerry Ordway coming up in just a couple hours, so check that out, and enjoy your weekend. I hope you have a great one, and man, San Diego next week. I know that there's going to be a lot of news. We'll all be following it carefully, but here at Word Balloon, I got some great conversations lined up already that will entertain and thrill. Until next time, Word Balloon is a copyright feature of Shaky Productions, copyright 2019.